Cheerio, and welcome to our 4th edition of Flix and a Whisk, the classier, more refined cousin of Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Alessandro Biolsi. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, the high magistrate, Anthony Costanzo. Say hello, chap.
Job done, sure.
On this week's episode, we'll be incorrectly predicting this year's Oscar winners, but first, what are we drinking?
Hello, chap. I've got myself some Michters Bourbon.
I usually don't take it past the intro. I didn't expect you to keep going.
I didn't know it. I actually panicked. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was expected.
I don't know what to do with my voice.
Amazing.
Yeah, I was just not prepared for you to say that in that voice, so I did not understand a single word you said.
Same. I am drinking a Michters small batch Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey.
That sounds like a delightful choice. I'm drinking Hudson Whiskey's Backroom Deal, which is a New York straight rye whiskey finished in peated Scotch barrels.
You know what I have to say about that?
What? Nice.
Mine is distilled in small batches according to the Michters pre-Revolutionary War quality standards dating back to 1753. That goes all the way around the bottle. I don't know if you saw me turning it.
Well, I saw you. I couldn't. You were like, the bottle was slightly out of camera view, but I could tell you were like looking at it dramatically, so I couldn't tell if you were trying to like, if it was like that beer from a few weeks ago where it was on the shiny can, where I had to like so really. Shiny. I was like changing the angle to get the words to like manifest. So I didn't know if that's what you were doing or if you were rotating the bottle or what. I have a little bit before we get into the tastings of these, because I'm going to talk about this whiskey a bit more later on. But I have tasting notes from their website as well as what's on the bottle here.
Oh, okay. So
as bold as New York, this is Hudson Whiskey is in Tuttletown, which distillery, which is in Gardner, New York, which is 40-ish minutes from where I live. Okay. And we'll talk about it later in consumption. I made a little visit there. I think I mentioned to you, I don't remember if it was on air or off air, but I mentioned to you last week. Oh, no, it was when we were playing Halo, I think.
Yeah.
That I was going there. So we'll talk about that during consumption. But as bold as New York, welcome to New York. It's a city that's bold yet refined, artful and unapologetic. That same attitude seeps into our spirits. New York State ingredients meeting New York City ingenuity for rich grain-forward flavor. Backroom Deal. We send our ex-bourbon barrels across the Atlantic where they're used to age peated whiskey, then emptied and returned to our distillery where we fill them up again with straight rye whiskey. There's nothing sinister about it. It's just how the world works. A bit of smoke, a bit of spice. Good enough to seal the deal.
I mean, everything about what you said sounds like this is probably one of my favorite whiskeys.
Well, funny that you should mention that because another whiskey that we tried from Hudson Whiskey is called This Is Your Favorite Whiskey. Now, I don't have that one.
They got us.
My brother's got that one. He bought that one when we were there. But it's aged a minimum of 3 years, 95% rye, 5% malted barley, 46% alcohol by volume. The tasting notes are on the nose, smoke, brown sugar, and apricot.
Ooh. On
the palate, peat, black pepper, and vanilla bean. The finish is long, balanced, and sweet. Perfect pairings. The Backroom Deal artfully combines two iconic whiskey-style Scotch and American rye. The balance between smoky peat and spicy rye sets up this whiskey as a perfect pairing with smoked brisket, dark chocolate, or your favorite cigar.
All right. I mean, that sounds delightful. And you just opened this, right?
Yeah, I mean, I got to try this, but this is the first time I'm opening this bottle I bought.
Very nice. You're going to have to bring some of that to me. So on this
I'm going to see you on Sunday, so.
That's right. On this bottle, this can't be right, but it says Michters batch number 2,212,962. Could that be?
I mean, it might not be of just that series, but of total barrels? Yeah, why not?
A lot of glass bottles. All right, so what do we have here? It says U.S. Star 1. I don't know what that is on their whatever.
I'm not sure.
It's a giant print on their bottle. Small batch Kentucky bourbon. Kentucky straight bourbon. We are proud to offer you our small batch bourbon. In the Michters tradition, hailing from one of America's first whiskey distilleries, this bourbon is made from highest quality American corn and matured to the peak of perfection in hand-selected charred white oak barrels. It is
Standard,
then
classic.
further mellowed by our signature filtration.
Nice.
I think that is one of the things that I do appreciate about Michter whiskeys. They are
What, the standard filtration
level of mellow. Like they are, like you can. They're very easily. Yeah, the standard filtration. They're very drinkable.
Yes.
They don't they're not. It's like there's no burn or anything at all. But like there's all of the flavors really come through.
Yes.
That's been consistent of all of the bottles that I've had from them, and they're just. I think they are my absolute go-to for if I want a whiskey of any sort.
They are also one of mine when you like match quality to price point. I enjoy.
For sure.
In particular, I gravitate towards the rye, but yes, I enjoy the rye, the bourbon.
That their rye is absolutely clutch. I will be drinking this out of a Glencairn glass.
Oh, nice.
It is my first whiskey live glass.
Oh, I don't remember if I have. No, I have a different one from them. I think.
You have the short stumpy one. I've got that too. Yeah.
I'm drinking mine out of my Hudson whiskey glass, which came with like the tasting package that I did. So
that's cool. I was torn between using my whiskey live glass and my Batman whiskey glass that has my name on it.
Oh,
that was a Christmas gift one year, and I love it.
Nice. I would imagine so.
Shall we give our whiskeys a taste?
Yes, please.
Cheers. Ooh, it sounds so nice.
Oh God.
The nose is quite lovely. Did you sniff into the microphone?
Yes.
Amazing.
Somewhere, someone was just like totally shivering with disgust.
Perfect as ever. Smooth. So much flavor. Man, I love it.
So when we went for this tasting, they gave some coaching into how to enjoy a whiskey tasting. They basically said to, kind of roll it back and forth along your palate. Not swish, but just allow it to progress across your entire palate. What's cool about this one is you do get some of that sweet vanilla. And as you're really like sipping, and I think, let's say you're supposed to open your nose all the way while also taking a sip, you get that punch of spicy rye. And you almost feel the wave, even after you've like sipped and swallowed it, of the smoke kind of materializing towards the back of the palate.
Cool.
It's kind of an adventure.
Yeah, I love reading like different ways of going about it. Learning how to like kind of smell it with your mouth open, and using the right glass helps too. Like to get the flavor almost on the nose is nice, and then doing some of those various tasting techniques. I think one of my favorite pieces of advice that I had gotten was, do the step of breathing it in, doing the first sip, following your standard steps of like rolling it around and tasting it, and then ignore that one and do it again because ultimately it's like going to tame everything that's going on in your mouth first, and then you'll taste it the second time.
Yeah, it's kind of like when like certain like cooking things, like you're supposed to like add like something hot to like a pan and then like let it come back up before you put the rest of it because of the temperature shock.
Yep. Yeah.
But in this case, it's the flavor of whiskey, not a temperature shock. Yeah.
Mouth shock. I love a good whiskey. I don't really have anything else to say about this one. I mean, Michters is all around wonderful. Like they're 2 thumbs up consistently. Like 4 thuckles. That's very. I just somewhere on a label, a Michters label somewhere. 4 thuckles as reviewed by.
If we could get onto like
Flix and a Whisk,
whiskey advocate or something like that.
That's right.
Flix and a Whisk. There's 4 episodes of it. Once every year, or sometimes 2 or 3.
Bonus.
I really, really enjoy the shit out of this whiskey. It's definitely a 3 or 4 thuckle job. So
nice. That's awesome.
All right, so obviously we do things a little differently here. We're going to start with a quick new from Anthony, and then we're going to do kind of our consumption from the last couple of weeks because we unexpectedly missed last week before jumping into just kind of a general discussion of the major Oscars categories now that we've seen a bunch of the movies, what we think about them, what we think maybe we would pick to win, or if we have an inclination as to what we think will win, et cetera, so on.
When we get to that area, I've got a little something to layer on this year.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, kicking us off with our single new of the week. A few weeks back, or last week, or whenever it was, we talked about Star Wars and how we are ready for it to return to theaters. Right, we're ready for that next Star Wars movie, wherever it may be, whatever it may be about. We're ready for it. And then we're hoping that maybe we'll get something, some tease, some nod, a title, maybe a hint at like Star Wars Celebration or something like that.
Yeah,
that's our hopes and dreams, right? I was scrolling through some news stories a little bit earlier today to find that Kevin Feige's Star Wars movie is canceled.
Really?
Canceled. Yep.
Huh.
So that's not in the running anymore. And I was like, damn. And then also they have a proposed date of, I think we probably discussed this before, but their proposed date for their next Star Wars movie is December 2025.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm really surprised that they're just outright can't. I mean, I don't know if he's just like, he's like, this is taking too long, I don't want to do it, but like that doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, it seemed like he was super excited for that, and like, yeah, he's got a lot of Marvel stuff, but I would think they could just backburner that. It's not like they've announced it or cast it or anything like that.
Yeah, I found it odd. I'm just like, I do feel like this is going to be, it's not great considering that I would assume like that one was probably going to be like maybe pushed towards being the next one that is released. So like if they're still going to try to hit that December date with another movie, are they ready to do that?
I mean, there's no way for us to guess what could be first or last or whatever because there's nothing officially on the slate. There's nothing official.
I more figured that he has that tap into Disney already and how they run things and how things get produced and the ball gets rolling and the projects get going and how they, get off the ground. So he had, he already has his foot in the door with them that I assumed that maybe his would be more likely to come out first.
I just figured it was the one that was most likely to exist, to happen whenever that would be the case. Like, there's the flexibility to make it whenever, but you would think that would be the one that, his goodwill within the company should be such that they would prioritize doing it whenever and however it was going to happen,
Yeah. Well, anyway, that was the news. So like I am still hopeful that we get some sort of tease. I definitely sat and thought about it for a while of what like December 25 looks like, and it's out there.
Yeah, it turns out it's almost 3 years away.
Yeah, that kind of hurts, but at the same time, that is a lot of time to get it right.
Yeah. So on the other hand, like considering again we don't have anything official, right. That's like the earliest you could expect them to be able to make a whole movie.
Right. So here's my main concern though is if we don't get some sort of I'm not expecting like a tease of like like
footage,
a visual tease of the movie or anything like that, but like some information about what they're doing for the next movie, when it's taking place, what a general idea of the stories.
How about this? A title, a plot, and maybe a couple of your key actors and actresses.
That would be great. If they don't give that to us this year, though, there's not something's. I just doubt something's coming out in December of 25.
Yeah, no, that's a reasonable. It's a reasonable assumption.
So that was a bummer.
But actually, there is a Star Wars new, right? You sent it to me earlier today. The Star Wars movie is coming out.
Oh my god, I forgot all about that.
So when you started talking, like when you said it beforehand, I was like, yeah, it doesn't ring a bell. Then when you started talking, I was like, oh wait, he's going to talk about the thing he sent me today. And then you forgot the thing that you sent me today.
Wow, that's like relearning about that from this morning, which was very exciting. So a documentary will be releasing on how did this happen with regards to the Star Wars Holiday Special, which I am so interested in.
At first, I had to double check that it was the first week of March and not the first week of April. I was like, this, because I saw it was an IGN. I was like, this wasn't an April Fool's IGN
I
thing,
absolutely went through the entire that whole experience. I had that as well.
I was like, this isn't real, right? This is a joke. It's not because I don't want it, but because I just didn't believe it was real.
Yeah, I love the way they clipped together like people talking about it, like,
which was part of why I thought it was fake. Yeah. Like, although they got some heavy hitters, like for that documentary. I mean, also like there's a couple of people in there that like Seth Green. It's like, yeah, we know he's a mega Star Wars fan, but then you had like Paul Scheer and Gilbert Gottfried, and I was like, I did not expect to see them in this
for sure. I wonder when that was recorded, because it must have been a while ago.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. I was off for a couple of days, and I caught up on the last few weeks of like new Family Guys, and one of them they had a character voiced by Gilbert Gottfried, and I was like, hang on a second, was this actually a new episode, or was this one from a couple years ago? And then at the end of the episode, it said like in loving memory of Gilbert Gottfried. So like they had clearly recorded it with him.
In the can.
Yeah, probably roughly a year ago, and just didn't actually put out that episode until like whatever it was last week or 2 weeks ago or something like that. And obviously he had passed away within, I want to say maybe 6 months ago or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think so. That'll be interesting to watch, and obviously it has strong ties to this show.
Yes, check out our untitled, unnumbered holiday episode
which clearly should have been titled Whisk, Whisk, Stir.
Whip, stir. No, well, because we're with, I believe the beer for that was Fear Movie Lions, right?
Yeah, that's right. I don't know if we discussed this when we had that beer, but I saw it again. I saw it in the store recently, and I was like, I thought that was just kind of like a small thing that they did.
I don't think it's a thing they do all the time. I had the impression it was, if not a one-off, then maybe a periodic release.
Did we discuss at all why it had such a funky name?
I mean, I'm sure we talked about it when we did the episode.
Because I don't remember this, and then but when I saw it in the store, what had caught my eye was that it was FML, and I don't think we discussed that part of it.
No, I think we talked about it a bit, and because I think, didn't it come in like a cardboard box or something like that? Like, didn't we have the box?
I don't remember.
Like, read it, and read what was on the can and talk about it a little bit.
And they have been.
I don't remember all the details, but I remember us talking about it for a couple minutes.
I relearned. I've come to realize. I was talking to a buddy of mine about retention at this point in my life, and I do not remember a lot of details about like. I remember the bullet points, right? Of a lot because like I feel like you're experiencing so much all of the time that I remember bullet points, and it's the details that I lose. I don't really lose them on movies. I still hold on to those. I guess just from the practice of watching them for so long. But for like everything else, I'm just like, did we talk about this? Who was in that? What is that person's name? I don't like. None of that is. I have a mind picture of the person. Well, that's about it.
You have a head movie of the person?
Yeah, so that's why I was like, there's also a part of me that we did the beer, right? We didn't just have it once and talk about it. We did it on the show.
So I tend to have like uncommon retention of like pretty much all conversations I have. But weirdly, it's probably the density of the conversation that we do on the show. A lot of times I forget some of the details on the show.
Yeah.
Because
the density, the time of day.
It's the density and it's how tired and sometimes the presence of slightly too much alcohol that will muddy up the picture for the show. But every once in a while I'll like go back. I don't usually listen to like whole episodes that we've done in the past, but sometimes I'll go back to refer to certain things that we do in like news and nuggets or consumption if I'm looking for something before I add it to my next week's notes and all that. And I'll be like, oh, I totally forgot that we talked about this. But then before it gets to that part, I'll remember the whole rest of it. Like, it like jogs my memory. It's in there, but the density of it, like it's like a zipped file that needs to be unzipped.
Yeah, that's fair. Like I can reconstruct it with enough poking and prodding.
But it's like basically only stuff that we do on the show like this, like stuff from work and like social stuff. Like, again, unless I'm like been drinking and I'm like ass drunk, but like if I'm just like regular old situation, conversations. I have like an uncanny retention for so much of it, going back years and years and years and years. But weirdly, the show, like I said, it just must be the density of how much just you and I are talking for 2 or 3 hours straight that it gets crammed into a space that I can't like just like randomly access it.
You may have about 2 years left of holding on, because this is only something I'm noticing recently. Because I used to be like that. All I can tell you is what's happening in 2 years.
2 years and or the birth of a child.
That's right. Oh man, should we do some? Is that it for news then?
Well, I have one other one. Did you watch that trailer I sent you yesterday or the day before?
I might have just missed it.
Okay, I sent you. I think it was yesterday evening. You don't have to watch it now. We can talk about it next week or whatever. But the trailer for a movie that's coming out on Apple, it's Chris Evans and Ana de Armas, and
yeah, I didn't watch it. I apologize.
Okay, it's called Ghosted.
That would have been really funny though if I looked at it and went yes, and I could remember everything about it.
It's a movie called Ghosted, and it was almost like an episode of Family Guy where like they show you like a premise, and then like the movie is about something totally different, but it just required the premise to hand it off, and it's like it has nothing to do with any of it. Like it's
amazing.
And it's basically like the two of them have kind of a meet cute, go on a date. She doesn't respond to his texts, even though like they seem to have really hit it off, and then surprise, she's like an international assassin or something like that.
Why wouldn't she be?
Right. But yeah, I recommend you watch the trailer. It looks ridiculous. It'll probably be fun. It'll probably be stupid.
I'll check that out.
Yeah. What have you been consuming in the last 2 weeks?
I'm glad you handed it to me to kick this off. Al, I'm not sure if you've heard about it.
Oh, God.
But I started playing this game.
Okay.
Called Vampire Survivors. No.
Not only have I never heard of this game before, but I've never heard of vampires nor survivors in my life. Sorry, we kept that bit going on for so many episodes. I had to make it more dramatic each time.
I actually haven't played Vampire Survivors since the last time we talked. So, but I did watch Force Awakens after you had told me that you were watching. You sat down, you watched all 3 of the late trilogy.
Yep.
I was like, man, that sounds like a great time.
Yeah, you texted me randomly Friday night, Saturday night.
Yeah.
Hey, the Force Awakens is pretty good.
It's just excellent, and I'm watching it. I'm watching this movie, and I'm like, there is too much negativity around that trilogy, and we talked a little bit about this last time too. If you just stop and put it on again, it's great. It's so much fun. Like it's Star Wars. It's what I want, and The Force Awakens is fantastic. I don't care. I don't care if it's a requel. I don't care. Like, it doesn't... That's not surprising. Like, it's so many years later. Like, of course, like, they managed to tell a new story while telling the same story and doing it with all great performances and a new style. Like, it's awesome. And it introduces... like this new, when you go back and you watch that, it's like, it's fun to realize how that ushered in the entire new age of Star Wars. And it's just so cool. And it's super captivating. The performances are great. The story is good, but that's pretty much the max on most Star Wars stories anyway.
Yeah.
And man, I want to just go back to appreciating and loving Star Wars movies and watching them over and over again. And
I knew you were there with me when we talked about it a few weeks ago, and I'm glad to see that you've been able to feel it and experience it for yourself.
It's just so fun. That's just like little things too. Like, that's not how the Force works, and BB-8 giving a thumbs up. Like, little things like that stick with you. Like, that are just really just super charming. And they nailed it. I love it.
Good.
Now I want to watch the rest of them. I did put on, after I finished that movie, I did put on Rise of Skywalker because I've seen The Last Jedi over and over again. And I don't think that I've watched Rise of Skywalker since it was released on. So it's been It's been a minute.
Okay.
And I had only gotten a little bit into it because I mean, I put it on at like 11:30, and I obviously wasn't going to get that far. But the title crawl is a bit dramatic.
It is.
You know,
the dead speak.
But like the opening is actually pretty.
Although I gotta be honest, if we're talking about dramatic ones, one of my favorite one, at least like how it starts, is episode 3. Because it literally just starts with the word "war!" exclamation point.
War.
And I was like, "Oh shit! Okay, yeah, we're in the Clone Wars now. Like we are in war. Yeah, that's accurate."
So true. But yeah, I'm looking forward to get back to that. I love Star Wars. I love it. Makes me feel nice.
I love
People
Star
talking
Wars.
shit about it makes me feel bad. I don't like that.
And again, that is not saying that you can't have constructive criticism, because there are plenty of valid criticisms. Mm-hmm. There's a difference between valid criticisms and even, taking the piss out of it a little bit and, bitching about it.
But there's also like a certain point with Star Wars or property like that, like valid criticism, sure. As a film, valid criticisms, I get it. But then as Star Wars, it's like pretty par for the course. Like that's just how they are, and that's okay too.
Which was kind of my overriding thesis, to an extent.
Yeah. Anyway, I had a great time with that.
Good. Speaking of games that you may or may not have heard of, Hogwarts Legacy. So I'm in. So what had happened was, after like a week after we really talked about it, Dominic texted me and said, because me and him both have our own Xboxes in our respective living quarters, but we share an Xbox Live account. So he's like, hey, do you want to go 50-50 on downloading Hogwarts Legacy? Because one purchase price, we can both download. It's all cloud, all that fun stuff.
Gotcha.
So I was like, okay, you know what? Now I have no excuse. If he's going to buy half of it, then let's do it. So he's actually out of town for a few weeks, but I got a snow day last week from work. And I was like, okay, once I did all the things I was going to do for the day, I was like, well, even before that, I was like, oh, you know what? Got up. I'm off from work. Let me download it now. So it's all ready for me by the time, because it's going to take, 2 hours to download or something like that. Hour and a half, something like that. So set that all up. Did all the shoveling, clearing off the cars, got a little workout in, nice brunch, all that fun stuff. I was like, okay, we got a couple hours to do some Hogwarts Legacy. Let's create a character. I didn't really want to bother signing up for the whole online thing, because they've got a decent enough character creator within the game.
Mm-hmm.
Went in. So before I did it, I was reading into a little bit of stuff, like people talking about starting the game online, whatever. And they were talking about naming your character. You had mentioned a bit about how... Sorry, what was the name of your character again?
Aiden Clearwater.
Aiden Clearwater. And what was your inspiration, did you say?
I used an online Harry Potter name generator that you put your actual name into, and it spits something out.
That's right. So what I did was I was reading through and was talking about what different people were using for their inspiration for their names. Mm-hmm. So some people were saying, oh, just pick a name of a character or combination of characters from the books or whatever. It's like, okay, that's not super interesting, whatever. Go with a name that's inspired by your name. It's like, okay, maybe we'll see where that leads us. Pick a Greek or a Roman name. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, there's a lot of them that are names from, or Arthurian legend. Because there's a lot of Harry Potter names that are either the same or inspired by ancient Greek or Roman, or, whatever types of names. So what I settled on was a hybridization of a name inspired by your own name / something from myth or ancient times. So I picked an ancient Roman or Greek, I forget now, name. I think it's Roman name that I thought kind of evoked my name. So first named Lysander. I think there was was it Midnight Summer's Eve, the Shakespeare story? That was one of the names of the characters. I think he was also a Roman general in real life, something like that. I was like, okay, Alessandro, Lysander, close enough. Let's go with it, first name. And then I was like, for the last name, let's go through the Rolodex of Harry Potter names, names from whether it be some, history or one of the books or one of the movies. So my character's named Lysander Broadmoor. That is my character's name. Figured B, Biolsi, Broadmoor, why not?
Sure. Nice. I thought you were going to do something like annoyingly like short top, like reverse of long bottom, like just something.
No. I wanted to be like as if it could have been, because there's a lot of characters that you see in the game that you recognize the last name. They're clearly the ancestor of someone that you saw in the books or in the movies or whatever. And it's like, let's get something that's kind of in the spirit of that.
I like that a lot, and that makes me think. So, okay, short, little aside here. A character creator, name picker, thing like that. That I could ruin my whole weekend. I could be like prepared to play a game, and then I hit that screen, and I'm just absolutely crippled, and I have no idea what to do, and I spend too much time on it, and then I never play the game. I just give up.
So no, if it took me more than 5 minutes to think about it, I would have just put my name in there. So I messed around with it for like 5 minutes while I was doing something else, and I was inspired by that. And I was like, let's do it, ready to go. I kind of gave my character a little bit of. I think I did a decent job of making the face look kind of sort of like a video game version of my face from my high school age, but with like my current hair, basically. So that's good. I'm a Ravenclaw, so that's fun. I wanted love Gryffindor, but I was like, you know what? Let me try something else.
Well, you're in my house. Ravenclaw for life.
That's right. I forgot about that. But yeah, I figured so Slytherin's tend to be pricks, although surprisingly, maybe not in this era of the game because
that Slytherin guy's pretty nice.
Yeah, was it Sebastian, right?
Yeah,
he seems like a cool dude. I was like, oh, yeah,
that's pronounce it right.
Oh, that's right. And even the couple of other people that you run into so far, like Slytherin, and I'm very early in the game, I was like, oh, wow, no one here is just a raging asshole for no reason.
Yeah.
Like, at all, let alone just, like, all of the Slytherin.
Maybe the headmaster. Unclear.
Yeah, at this point, maybe. And considering he's a black, like, we know that Sirius's family, his, like, ancestors were basically all pricks, so that's not surprising. But I think that has more to do with the family than the house.
Yeah, that's fair. That's right. I like this concept of trying to name. I think in hindsight, like next time I do a character creator, I think I might try to go the same route. So I got a first name, but I need a last one. The first name was Erasmus.
You could have gone like Antonius something.
No, I would go Erasmus, and the reason being is my middle name is Edward, which they thought was an American translation of my grandfather's name.
Okay,
which it is not.
Okay.
But Erasmus would have been. So I think that's a pretty cool name. Okay. So I would do that, works. But I don't know what I would pick for a last name.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I would start with last name C, and sure. Like, and then find another like obscure,
Clearwater.
Well, a more fun one that's maybe obscure or whatever.
Sure.
But no, it's fun. I've played, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 hours. I don't know how long you've played.
Not sure.
I will say basically like what I got up to is my first official visit to Hogsmeade.
Okay, yeah, that was fun.
And then I think like at the end of it,
do the Hogsmeade stuff and get back to the castle.
Yeah, I did the whole Hogsmeade stuff. Arrived back at the castle, and like I was playing it for like half an hour last night, so like that was where I finished. Was just when I got back to the castle.
Cool. I think last I was in there, I joined the dueling club because it was part of a mission.
I did that,
and then got into the library, and I'm breaking into the restricted section currently.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you're a little bit ahead of me then, I guess.
Probably not much. I think it's like the next main story mission.
Okay,
maybe 2, but
it's a lot. It's a lot of fun. The castle is overwhelming. I spent a good amount of time during like the first act, like wandering through whole sections of the castle. And I was like, fuck, I'm going to be instantly lost anywhere. The map is basically useless. I'm a little frustrated with that. Like meaning like when you open up like your actual map from like the field guide thing.
Yeah.
Like it's fine for using the flu system, but beyond that, useless.
Otherwise, yeah, it is useless. I agree. And I think that's kind of the idea, because it's like either travel to close to where you're trying to be, or just walk around.
But it like I think that having a useless map like that disincentivizes you exploring it on foot, which like you should use the flu stuff
That's fair.
when you want to, but you should be encouraged to walk around. And the longer you get into the game, the less you're going to want to walk around.
True.
Because you're just going to be like, okay, I've been walking around, I've been doing fetch quests, I've been doing whatever stuff. I just want to get where I want to go. And you'll probably miss stuff that way because at this point the castle is so big. And I don't have a problem with the castle's size if you had a map that you could learn as you start to try and figure out where everything goes. But because the nature of like the Hogwarts castle is kind of a mystical thing where it's like sometimes staircases move and shit like that. And I don't think that's really happening in the game, but like
it
that's
does.
like, oh, okay. So that will make it actually unfortunate. And I like for doing a mission, it's great because you can just hit like the up button on the D-pad and it'll like give you a path to walk. But like that, I don't want to be handheld that way. I want to be able to choose my level of guidance.
Gotcha. So I don't use the flute system. I use that. I use the guidance thing so that it turns on.
But then you're just following the footsteps on your mini map. You're not looking around at what's around you.
Oh no! So if there's a button that you hit that there's actually a golden trail that's moving in front of you.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I'll use that so that I can like easily keep my character on track while looking around, and then like I'll break off and do something if I see something interesting.
Yeah, to be fair, I've done that too because like the footstep thing simply help. But like I just find myself like looking down at the map, not looking at where I'm walking. You know,
I missed opportunity to make that mini map the Marauders map.
Yeah, that too.
Right? And like footsteps instead of gold dots. Like
although to be fair, the Marauders map wouldn't have existed yet, so if you want to go canonically.
Like, I guess. But like
to me, just give me a functional version of the map when I open the field guide. Because like a lot of the other stuff in there is useful, but like the map not so much. And it's like,
yeah, that's true. That's true. Have you gotten into much customization of your character or anything like that?
Not too much. I mean, I started getting a bunch of like clothes and stuff to like put on, and like obviously like all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, my like offense and defense like went dramatically up because I found a bunch of like cool shit, and I was like, oh, that's cool. But then it just became too much on the character, so I like wouldn't customize just like a switch off like the glasses and like stuff just so like I can like actually see my character's face.
I do the same thing. I've got a really cool cloak that I use for all of my cloaks, and I tend to change up the gloves because I've come across some interesting gloves.
And those like gloves are less distracting to me than like the fact that you have like a hat, glasses, and a scarf, which is just like turns you into like a snowman.
Well, if I'm gonna do a shady mission, I put my hood on.
So that's funny, but that's like an in-game sort of thing or whatever. But yeah, no, I mean, other than that, like I get a little thrown off sometimes with like the movement where like I'm trying to like walk and like it gates you on your speed and you like can't break out of it. And if you try and sprint in close quarters, I get nauseous, but like that's more of a user error thing.
Yeah, there is something to be said about there's like it's definitely worse in the castle because of how tight it is. But there is I almost feel like there's something that could maybe be patched there. I don't quite know what the fix is, whether it's pulling the camera back, but that might break a lot of the locations. But it definitely feels off here and there. And then part of me is like, I like to look at my character in third person because I like to see the stuff that I put on them and whatnot. Sure. But like, it may benefit from a first person mode so that you can flip back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't be a bad... I mean, especially because you don't really use the aim button very often. Like, that could have been a hard swap first, third person.
That's true. I could see, like, also, yeah, like, being in first person for pretty much all of the moving around the castle and whatnot. But, like, anytime I'm fighting, I want the third person. I like how cool it looks when you're doing a duel or you're fighting a group.
Oh, I mean, it's great. I do find it to be great for the duels.
Yeah.
I will say that, generally speaking... the camera placement is super weird. I mentioned to you when I texted you the other day, like the third person over the shoulder. I'm used to that because like I played a million hours of BioWare RPGs and like they're over the shoulder third person games, both Mass Effect and Dragon Age. And it's never going to be directly over you. It's always like over your right shoulder or your left shoulder if they give you like a swap thing. But it's usually like the camera is usually like 55-45, right? Like And
it's a slight tilt versus like
this is like
you
70-30.
have 3/4 of the screen on the right side.
Yeah, you're almost against the left margin. It's so weird.
It's very evocative of Gears of War.
Even more dramatic than that.
Yeah, but I'm with you on that.
But the actual like spell casting is really cool. I'm still getting used to doing it frenetically because I've been in a handful of fights. I think I might be the greatest duelist in the world because when I went to dueling club with Sebastian, flawless victory.
Nice.
But the troll was a bit of an adjustment just because I got really used to being able to like protego and like stupefy counter, and the troll did the thing, and I timed it perfectly, and it just smashed directly through my shield, and I said, "Oh, okay, I didn't realize that my shield had limits."
Gonna have to dodge that one.
And from then on, my Jedi Fallen Order reflexes kicked in, and I dodged
same button, right?
Yes. So
be at this point.
I dodged like 95% of the rest of its attacks, and even though only the basic cast worked pretty much on the troll because you don't have anything other than like, Wingardium Leviosa doesn't work on troll apparently. I think it gave it like a quick slowdown, but it didn't really like change it.
You can throw stuff at the troll.
Yeah, I guess that would make sense.
That does way more damage.
I didn't notice anything obvious to.
It took me a minute too. I found that the outlining of the stuff that you can throw was a little too subtle.
Well, in a fight when your like eyes are focused on the troll that's trying to bash your brains in, it's a bit too subtle. But now that you mention it, I should have thought to do that, and I just didn't even think to look for it.
And honestly, I forgot how you even do that at this point. It's been a minute.
Well, you would Accio it, and then you would...
Right. I gotta get back into that. That game's fun.
Yeah.
It's really fun to play. It very much feels like the Wizarding World. Like they nailed the aesthetic, the feeling, the music, the sound effects, everything is great.
Well, it's nice because every once in a while they break out the good stuff. They give you a little bit of like the movies music, but 95% of it is original stuff. But it's definitely of the proper like theme for it. It sounds like it could have fit in any of the movies.
I really want to play this around Christmas. I already feel Christmassy when I watch Harry Potter because obviously there's Christmas moments in those movies. But like this feels like it would be a nice take a week off around the Christmas holiday. Get some cocoa,
Yeah.
Play some HP.
Maybe some butterbeer.
And you started.
Iced pumpkin juice.
God, have you ever had either of those things?
No.
They're so fucking good.
Really?
I cannot even explain to you how delicious.
Well, I know like
Wizarding World.
I know like 10 or 15 years ago they like made and sold like a butterbeer, and like people were like, it's kind of gross. But then when they did like the actual Potter World at Universal or whatever, like the actual butterbeer they sold there, I heard was really good.
Oh my god, it's incredible. And
didn't have it.
I had it a couple times while I was there. Kim got the frozen butterbeer, which was dope, but I was more about the standard. I have since been to other like official Harry Potter things. Like there was like an exhibit in Philly that we went to the exhibit was awesome, but they were selling bottled butterbeer. You might as well not even have it. It's not even close. Though, with each sip, you're that much closer to diabetes. Like that's how it's so good.
I did hear there's a shit ton of sugar in it,
and the pumpkin juice too. It's got it comes in a bottle with a little pumpkin screw top. It's so. I was like, I can't not get the butterbeer, and like the pumpkin juice came with our like English breakfast at the Hogshead, and I was like, oh, cool, I get to try this, and I was like, why? Why are you so good? Oh, man. More of that, please.
Yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to diving in and getting a little bit more done with that. But
same.
I haven't had as much time as I would like in the past week. What else are you consuming?
I watched All Quiet on the Western Front in preparation for...
So did I. In preparation for last week's
episode that I unfortunately had to bail on.
By the way, is everything okay with the HVAC or whatever?
Oh, it's all replaced.
Okay. What were they fixing?
They were replacing it. I had it. It's old, and I was getting it replaced before it went bad.
What exactly? The air conditioning? The what? The ducts? The entire ducts?
The furnace, the AC, and I also on top of that included the a new water heater.
Oh, okay.
But everything is running smoothly. The people that did the work were tremendous, and I would highly recommend them if you are in the New Jersey, like middle to North New Jersey area. Weatherman HVAC,
the North Shore points.
Great bunch of guys. They did an excellent job. They gave me an incredible price, considering that it was pretty much half of the estimate that I got from another company.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they did all of the work in 2 days, and it was a tight fit for some of the stuff they had to do. So, good on them. But it was just a long week. There were some sicknesses in the household. There was that. It was just too much. And I was by the time that we were going to record came, I had already fallen asleep twice.
Nice.
So I knew that it wasn't going to be good. But I watched All Quiet on the Western Front in bed on my. I have a MacBook Pro, one of the newer ones with the beautiful screen.
Mm-hmm.
And first off, that movie looks incredible.
Yeah.
Secondly, I watched it with spatial audio turned on, which was intense. Secondly, don't watch that movie that late because you're going to contemplate life and everything when it's over. But an excellent movie, absolutely worthy of the nod, which we will discuss later. But maybe we'll get to it.
I honestly wasn't that enthused.
Really?
Nah.
Huh. Fascinating.
I mean, it did look good mostly, and the performances were good, which can be tough to tell when it's like the distraction of like dubbing and all that.
Oh, I was very confused at the beginning of that movie. I was like, "What's happening? Why do they have English accents?"
I was thrown because it's a German movie. I thought it was all just going to be German with subtitles, which is fine. Mm-hmm. And then when it wasn't, and like it almost felt like it was intentionally edited in such a way that you couldn't get a beat on their lips to sell that it wasn't synced up with the audio. I was very confused for the first.
That was weird. It's not meant
10
to
or
be
15
dubbed,
minutes
though. It is like the original track. If you look at it, is the German track. It just pre-selects the dubbed version for you, and I don't know why.
Yeah, it was odd to me, but
that was weird.
That was a little distracting at first. I got over it.
Same.
But it detracts from the performance. Like I can't really get a great it did seem like it was well performed, but it's hard to really truly like draw any conclusions on that when
I don't think I was particularly blown away by any one performance so much as the narrative and execution.
I was distracted because I probably didn't actually read the whole book, but I read that book in high school. I watched most of the 1970 whatever version of the movie, which, as I recall, was a pretty honest adaptation of the book. And this is not, which was also threw me a bit. I don't know.
In a why call it that sort of way?
Yeah, just make it another World War I movie.
Great title.
It would have. That. Yeah, sure.
That's basically what I was calling it.
Yeah,
the other World War I.
I mean, the part I gets right to whatever extent is the ending with how devastating it is that the uselessness of his death. But I actually thought it was even more poignant how it was in the book and in the original movie. Well, actually, I think there's an original movie from like 100 years ago, but the one that I consider the quote unquote original, the one from the 70s, which is I think probably the most viewed version of it.
It's another A Star Is Born situation where there's a billion versions of this out there.
Well, I think just the 3, but yeah. Okay. Because the book is from like the 1920s or 30s, and I think that movie came out in like the early 1930s. But I think the one that most people are aware of is the one from the 70s.
Okay.
And I mean, I don't know if you care if I spoil how that one ended.
No, please.
But like, I think they're just kind of like totally like numb, mindless, just another day in the trenches, and early on in the book/movie, like they spend some time with them before going into war. Them being in school, the teacher talking about war, like how like the whole thing about patriotism and all that stuff, and he's like an artist. He like draws in class or whatever, and he sees a bird out like flutters up like on like the ramparts of like the trench, and he like is sketching it, and it kind of flutters away like slightly out of sight, and he climbs up to get a better view of it while he's getting. He's really excited. It's the first thing that like he cared about doing in forever, and he gets sniped and dies, and it ends with a telegram going, and it shows that like the armistice was agreed to like an hour before that or something like that, and no one knew that the war was over, and he died. To me, I thought that was even more like to me that drove home the pointlessness even more. Like I get the point they were making about like the whole thing with like the bravado and all that, but like there was times there where like, man, someone could have taken a pot shot at that fucking general from the middle of the crowd, and I don't think anyone would have cared. Yeah, and it wouldn't have happened. And then the whole point of All Quiet on the Western Front is to not glorify. It's supposed to be anti-war, and like certainly it's like, oh well, it's fucked up. He died that way because over something that's so stupid, and like we can see like everyone is kind of sort of numb to it or whatever. But like they do a rousing action sequence leading up to it. It kind of muddled the message a bit for me.
I would agree. I agree with that. It definitely it buries the more important point that I feel like the movie is trying to make.
Yeah,
by having those moments. And honestly, they could have cut all of that stuff out.
Yeah, like it was fine. I mean, like, honestly, a better ending to this, not All Quiet on the Western Front, would be the friend dying with them stealing the eggs.
Sure.
Like I think that was more with the spirit.
That actually feels more like what you were describing with
yes,
the bird, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and honestly, when that happened, and then I was like, oh, I have to pee. And I paused it, and I was like, 30 minutes? I was like, that's clear. I mean, is it 30 minutes of credits? Because that was a really good ending to this movie. Like, good as in devastating ending to this movie.
Yeah. So, like, the movie is fine, but it's just like, even within, if you're saying it's, like, supposed to evoke All Quiet on the Western Front without being, like, a strict adaptation of it, like, I didn't even think it did a great version of that. Like, none of it was
interesting,
terrible. Like, it's a well-made movie. Okay. It's fine. But I think it's just fine.
I think it's a really good movie. I don't have the baggage of knowing anything about All Quiet on the Western Front.
Also, to me, making this just a couple of years after 1917, like 1917 blows this the fuck out of the water.
To the point of like, does.
Like, so it's almost, and like we've already said, like this is a weak class of movies for the Oscars, but like. It almost feels unfair to nominate this when like that movie exists, and like it's not in the same year, but like it's in recent history.
You don't have to fill all the slots for Best Picture.
Yeah, like they allow you to get to 10, but you don't have to. Because like some years, like it's only like 7 or 8 like nominees.
Cool. What else? What else we got?
So
that was All Quiet on the Western Front. That's it for episode 209 of Listen.
So let's talk about a couple of movies that I saw that we might do for the show at some point, but certainly have not to this point. So I saw Cocaine Bear last episode.
Amazing.
I mentioned I was going to see it. I saw it. Is
it exactly what you'd think it would be?
If you saw the trailer and said, I want something that's insane about a bear that does cocaine, you're going to get what you wanted. It's fun, it's funny, it's ridiculous, it's stupid. It's super campy. Honestly, it probably could have even been more so, but it is an entertaining watch. It is much more dramatically gory than I expected it sometimes, but in a cartoonish way. Like it's you're laughing at half of that, like not like wanting to throw up. It's more like, oh my god, I can't believe that just happened type of nice. It has a couple of actors and actresses that are way better than what this movie deserves, and some of them turn like the camp super up. Some of them are kind of doing like for real acting, and there's a couple of scenes where like that's fine because it does kind of slow the pace down and like, hey, we're gonna just do movie for a minute here. We're not gonna do Cocaine Bear for this like 5 minutes. We're just gonna do like a movie right now. And then like, you know, someone like gets shot through the eyeball and their head explodes hilariously on like the back of a wall like 10 minutes later. So, you know, it's an experience. It is definitely an experience.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I did.
What else you got? I've got shows, so I'll let you. Why don't you go through movies?
Okay, so I have another movie. Okay. So this is in the same weekend as Cocaine Bear. We have a movie that was not art, but executed its vision quite successfully. But another movie that intended for art. And I suppose art is in the eye of the beholder as to whether it executes it or not. I think it was such a long movie that at times it certainly did, and at other times maybe not so much. But I watched Babylon on a couple Sundays ago.
Okay.
So we just had kind of like a Sunday where we weren't really doing anything, and my dad was like, "Oh, do you want to watch this? It's on Paramount." I was like, "All right, why not?" So me and him and my mom watched while we were all kind of doing some different stuff or whatever. It's a 3-hour movie. It was good. It was interesting seeing that on the same weekend as Cocaine Bear because both movies were definitely inspired by cocaine. For sure. Like cocaine
various
is
levels
in the spirit and the DNA of both of those movies to different extent and in different ways, but it was definitely a movie. Do you know what it's about?
I don't. I would see a random clip. I would see a random like set of it seems like bigger names that are like across the movie, but I have no idea what. I assumed it was one of those Hollywood movies for Hollywood's sake, but I don't know.
Yeah, so this is kind of like if you splice together Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with Hail Caesar and cocaine.
Okay.
It's about, and also a dash of Singing in the Rain, because it's about silent movie stars and directors living at the height of that and all of its successes. It's aptly named Babylon. Okay. Because first of all, it's got the longest cold open, I'm pretty sure, in movie history. The cold open's like 45 minutes long. I'm serious. It's probably about... It's in excess of half an hour until you get to the title card.
Oh my gosh.
And it's about those people, like, because the whole opening thing is like when they're like, this is... We run the world. We are the most famous people in the world. We have everything we want. We will have anything we want. Like, it's just the whole opening... Most of the opening is just a raging party on top of a mountain that's just like 60% intended to be an orgy. And then as transitioning to the period of the talkies and the rivalry between those two styles and of those stars trying to make the leap across to the new thing. And, all the heartbreak that came along with some of those people who, they lived too excessively, and the people who couldn't keep up with the changing of the times and the ones that did. And it's a bit of a mess. There is some entertaining shit in it. There's some fantastic performances in it. I do question whether the juice was worth the squeeze of the whole experience of the movie.
Sure.
My parents did not embrace it for what it was the way I tried to. Again, I'm not saying like I love the movie because I didn't, but I appreciated aspects of it. It got to the point where it was like half an hour left in the movie, and they're like, "Can this movie fucking end already?" So the best part about that experience though is, so the movie ends. They're like, "Oh god, finally!" I'm like kind of chuckling. My dad goes to like kind of finish making dinner in earnest. Went upstairs for something for a couple minutes and come back downstairs, and like I could sense I was walking into like neither of them had really like kind of like talked for a couple minutes because like they're both doing separate preparations for dinner, and like I could hear my dad like starting to talk for the first time. Either of them had like said anything in a couple of minutes, and he's like, "That movie, like, it's the worst thing I've seen since probably that movie from a few years ago with like the singing with Ryan Gosling," and I just lost it. I lost it because I was gonna say something 3 hours earlier. I didn't because I knew we were gonna get there eventually. I know my father.
Yeah.
I knew we were gonna get there, so I'm dying laughing.
That's amazing.
And he's like, "What?" I said, "I'm so glad you finally said it because you realize Damien Chazelle directed both those movies, right?"
That's pretty funny.
And I loved La La Land, right? Like you and me both really enjoyed it when that year. I only saw it all the way through that one time, but I've seen bits of it a couple other times. I would like to sit back.
Album plenty of times.
Oh yeah, music's great. I'd like to sit back down and watch the whole thing again.
Same.
But I just thought that was. I was like, I didn't say anything because I was really like, funny. I was like, I know at some point, it may not even be within these few hours. It might be a couple days from now when it just like comes to mind. It's like he's gonna mention La La Land. I'm just gonna wait there and say it.
It's that moment in Arrested Development where Job realizes that when the dad says you really jobed it, and he's like, oh, he's getting it. Oh man, that's funny. But okay, so probably not something. Is it wouldn't really, you wouldn't recommend sitting down for 3 hours to watch it?
No, watch it across like 3 nights or something. I don't know.
Watch the first 45 minutes. That's one movie.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right.
Yeah, watch till the title card and then like, I don't know, watch an hour or so of it and then like finish it. Whatever.
Okay. All right. I see. Fair enough. What other movies?
That was the last movie.
Okay. Get into some TV?
Sure, yeah. Why don't you kick us off with the TV?
So, as you know, last year, Kim and I got into American Idol. Mm-hmm. That's back. So we've been enjoying that. It's pretty strong talent coming through. Looking forward to seeing where that goes. Knowing full well that the people that I like will be gone within the next few weeks. Because it's always a country singer. Like it just always is. And they all sound the same to me. And I don't like, it's just not my kind of music. And if it's yours, that's fine. That's totally fine. I can get behind a couple of good country tracks, but I'm never just like, you know what I'm in the mood for today? Like it just doesn't happen.
Nope.
So there's that. But that's been fun. We have we're watching our standard sitcoms, our Million Little Things, which is back. We watch it.
Would you call it a sitcom?
I don't know. What do you call it?
Dramedy?
I guess. I mean, I don't know. At this point, I actually don't know.
Okay. I mean, I've never watched the show, but like it seemed dramatic and bittersweet, like in the initial promotional material.
That's fair.
It's about a group of friends coping with someone's suicide.
Seventh Heaven, like.
Yeah.
I feel like Seventh Heaven ushered in all of these shows, and people forget about that.
I never watched Seventh Heaven, but I would have classified that as a melodrama.
I can sing the theme song to this day, and I won't.
I think I'm thinking
not going to do it.
Dawson's Creek. That's that. I think I know that. Is that the one that's I Don't Want to Wait? Isn't that
probably
that's Dawson's Creek, right?
I didn't watch that show.
I didn't watch either.
But we watched that. It's fine. Abbott Elementary is still fantastic. Every episode has us laughing our asses off, so I'm enjoying that. We did decide that since Ted Lasso is coming back soon, why don't we rewatch the first 2 seasons? We're already like well into the second season. That show is perfect. It's so good. It's so fast too. Like you burn through episodes like it's nobody's business, but like it's got the most heart of any television show. And so I just love it so much.
Yeah, by design.
Yeah, and obviously, I'm only one episode in on Mando. I did not watch today's episode.
Oh, okay. I watched it tonight before I came down.
Nice. And Last of Us, which I mean, an absolutely tremendous penultimate.
Stay tuned after the credits. We will have the last word on the Mando watch.
Amazing. But those are the shows. Been getting some shows. Oh, and The Flash. How could I forget about The Flash? The Flash is hysterically bad. But I'm all in at this point. We're in the final season now. We're in the end game now, DC. Walter Matthau. What are you watching?
So I tried to correct my mistake from several weeks ago when I knew that Pedro Pascal was hosting SNL and I forgot to make time to watch it. I've seen a couple of those clips, but the other day I saw that Kansas City Chiefs tight end and two-time Super Bowl champion Travis Kelce was hosting Saturday Night Live this past week. I was going to be out of town all weekend, so I set it up to record, watched that. Was that last night? Last night or 2 nights ago? One of the last couple of nights.
Not last night, but the night before.
Probably.
A lemon and a pickle came knocking on my door. I went downstairs to let them in. They hit me in the head with a rolling pin. I went upstairs to get my gun. Have you ever seen a lemon and a pickle ramen?
Thankfully, the association was not as negative, but you just unlocked a memory from like ancient times of my brain in the way that I did with quicksand that one time for you.
Uh-huh. Is this about your brother repeating that over and over and over again?
Well, no, just like, the existence of it more than anything.
That occupies an annoying amount of real estate in my RAM.
Wait, did he do that a million times?
It's not in the hard disk space. It's right there all the time.
Jeez, wow.
I don't know why.
Did he say that a million times? I don't remember that.
He did. He used to sing it over and over again, and it was right around the time his transmission blew.
Oh. Well, those two things occupied like 98% of his RAM at that time.
His RAM was just one small chip.
Wow.
Transmission blew up.
Wow. What were we talking about? Oh, that's
sorry. Something. Well, you were saying that it reminded.
Yeah. So I recorded SNL with Super Bowl winner Travis Kelce. God damn it. Did you watch this week's SNL?
No.
Okay. Well, I know you guys usually watch most of them, or at least historically have.
If we know who's on, we'll watch it. We try to at least get to the weekend update.
Weekend update was pretty strong. It had a big, branch off of it this week. It was
great.
Sarah's news.
Oh boy.
I guess it's her birthday, and so they let her do a big part of the news section, which was 80% just roasting Colin.
Awesome.
Which was great. Colin got roasted hard this week, which I know is like a thing that they lean on, and usually it's pretty good. This one, the weekend update was long this week. It isn't always, considering they had this whole extra plank of like the Sarah news, and most of it was just like, if the FBI decided to just poke around Colin Jost after that, wouldn't be surprising. I don't know, but
that's
I wanted to see Travis Kelce. I'm a fan of him as a player. I've liked this Chiefs team the last few years. I'm always a little curious when someone like an athlete is hosting, as opposed to someone who's like a comedic actor who is usually a natural fit, even if they're not like a sketch actor or whatever. But what I appreciated about it is, one of my complaints sometimes when I actually choose to tune in for someone who I want to see, he was in 85% of sketches, which is great.
Yeah.
They also found things that he was a good fit for, and I think he stretched a little bit of his range beyond what I would have expected on some of them. Some of them he definitely plays the type, but it was a really solid episode. I laughed a good amount.
That's awesome. Okay.
I think maybe the highlight was pretty early on. The setup is that he is attending the American Girl cafe with 2 American Girl dolls, just him and 2 American Girl dolls, and he's way too into it. And is creeping out all of the other patrons as well as the people running the place.
I love it. Okay.
But it was a strong episode. I really enjoyed it, and like I said, I probably watched 2 or 3 or 4 episodes a year. more than like a couple of sketches worth. And I really dug it. And what's Kelsey Ballerini was the musical guest, which was a name I knew, but I didn't recognize either song. But she was really good. So
nice. You mentioned an athlete like playing a part in a comedy for SNL in this case. But did you? I forget. I know I feel like we failed to do a Christmas episode this year. But did you watch the Murderville Christmas episode?
Yes.
Okay.
I watched the whole thing.
It was a separate thing that they released around Christmas.
Oh, then no.
Oh, it's like a longer extended. It's good.
Oh, I didn't hear about that. I'll have to check it out.
You should watch it. It was wonderful. But it reminded me. There was I believe a football player in the original.
It was Marshawn Lynch. He was in it again.
I feel like I want to say that he was in it for a short period of time, like just like a small portion of it. It's more like it's the two. Well, Jason Bateman is the mark this time, so it's pretty great. But so is Maya Rudolph. So they add more people that don't know what's going on and have to play the game. Okay. And he's in most of it, and then they add her on top of it, and then he has to catch her up to speed, and he doesn't really know what's going on either. And then one more person gets added on late in the game, and they make that person also have to guess who did it. And he's like, I have no idea what's going on.
Jeez.
It's wonderful. It's really silly.
That's good. I'll have to check that out. I didn't hear about that, which is surprising because I heard about it a ton when like the show was originally coming out. I didn't hear about that at all. So
yeah.
Other than that,
that's fun. You get to have that in your back pocket.
Yeah. Other than that, the only real thing is, I really really enjoy Shrinking. I mean, I don't know what happened between like Apple's what I thought was kind of laugh worthy like debut of television shows to now, where like. It is swiftly moved up to the ranks to it might be the best streamer for original shows. Like at this current moment in time. Yeah, like it's a really good show. Like it's not.
I'm really excited to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not perfect, but it doesn't have to be. It gets so much right so consistently. I feel that like the little snags here and there, like it's not worth like really like worrying about too much. You can just go like that didn't really work, and like move on. Like it's fine. Yeah,
she's ugly.
I understand if people have their qualms about like the thorough lack of ethics with which they are treating the therapy like pursuit, like how that is supposed to work, but like that is baked into the show. Like it is acknowledging this is not how therapy is supposed to work. What he is doing is wrong. There are consequences to that.
Right.
Thankfully, so far, no one's like had anything like catastrophic happen because of it. Like no one has like died or gone to prison or anything yet. But like there has been real fallout, and it's like, yeah, no, this is not the way to do it. And like the cooler heads are prevailing, saying, hey, listen, you shouldn't be doing that. So, like, if you can suspend your disbelief on like that aspect, there are so much other good within the show.
I'm looking forward to watching that.
Yeah, I've really like to the point where I was out of town from Friday to Monday, and I didn't get to watch the episode when it came out Friday until like yesterday, and like I was like actively like, okay, like I really want to get to sit down and watch the new episode. So, like,
it's funny, like that coming up, like me knowing that was coming up was actually an anomaly, because I feel like these days I don't know when something new is starting or what's coming on, just because of my lack of commercials, which I'm fine with that part of it. But the only time this is it ends up being beneficial with a show, because when I do realize something's available, I've got a lot of it in the bank, which is nice.
I like having my binge stuff.
Yeah.
My like we're going through a whole show stuff, but I also like having a weekly releases too.
Oh, same.
I like having a collection of those things where like I haven't really got to watch any of it the last couple of weeks, but I like that within the next week I can jump back into For All Mankind and keep chugging through a couple of episodes. But I like that I get The Last of Us and Mandalorian and Shrinking every week, and especially because One of them's on Sunday night, one of them's on Wednesday night, one of them's on Friday night. So it's like spaced throughout my week. Even if I don't get to it that day, within 24 hours, I usually will have. I like having a couple of shows like that to go with the stuff that I'm plugging along through.
Yeah. I enjoy that too. My currently weekly, we have enough weekly shows, so I've got that covered. I do, when we are using Ted Lasso as like a binge right now in preparation for what will be a weekly release, which is also fun. The benefit, what's nice is like when you realize a show that you like is back or has started a while ago. Like we watched the show Trying on Apple TV, which is just fantastic, and it stars one of the Andys. But it's so good, and
which Andy? Like, Game of Thrones Andy or the other Andy?
Game of Thrones Andy. Wait, other Andy. I can't remember now because I don't remember which one was in Game of Thrones.
House of the Dragon Andy is what
I know, but he was a bag of bones. I don't remember what he actually looked like. I have to look.
The older of the two, because he's substantially older than the other guy.
The younger one.
The one from Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, or the one from House of the Dragon?
Just look up Trying and you tell me which one it is. I don't play this game anymore. But anyway, that show I kind of like
that game.
Is this Dylan McDermott or Dermot Mulroney?
Yes. Oh, McDermott and Mulroney. Great game.
But so there's that. The problem with this whole not knowing when things are airing thing is I swear to God, if I look up shows, which is kind of a pain in the butt.
If I look up Trying and it's an Andy from some other thing, I'm going to be so mad. Sorry, award shows.
Missing award shows is the only downside to not seeing commercials ever. Because I was like, we were watching some show and I grabbed my phone to look something up, and it was like Brendan Fraser's speech from the SAG Awards, and I was like, no, that's one of my favorite ones to watch. But fortunately, whatever it was at NBC, whatever it was on, it was YouTube. They had the whole thing on that night, so we just watched it. We watched it and were able to get through it relatively quickly since there were no commercials.
It was the one from Fallen Kingdom.
Yeah, the younger one. The what?
The younger one. The one who's 40.
Yeah,
the one who's 40, like 3 days from now.
He's great, by the way.
Yeah. He usually plays someone ridiculous, I guess.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Apple TV, all about it.
Yeah. And like March is going to be a big month for television because The Mandalorian obviously started last week. Ted Lasso's coming back. Succession's coming back. I'm pretty sure there's something else that's coming back. Oh, and that new show with Bob Odenkirk starts in March too.
Oh, what is that called?
Lucky Hank, I want to say. It's on AMC. I think it starts the 19th. I saw a commercial the other day.
I would watch Bob.
Yeah, I'm going to probably check that out.
Cool. Any other concerns?
Yeah, so the aforementioned Hudson Whiskey, Total Town Distillery, I went a couple weekends ago with my dad and my brother. We went. It snowed that day, so it was a bit of a slog to get out there because it's kind of sort of up amongst the mountains. It's an ancient building. They have a giant grist stone as the entryway floor, and then its pear grist stone is inside the entryway, which is kind of fun. And they got a lot of whiskey there.
Sure.
Sit down, and they're like, "Hey,
I would hope so.
How many whiskeys or gins or vodkas?" Or they had a couple of liqueurs too that they made, which I didn't try those. We just tried the whiskeys. But yeah, I don't know. It was like $20. I got a glass. I got like 6 or 7 whiskeys, whatever it was. They gave us thing like with like the tasting notes, what I was reading from before, where it was like all of their stuff with like the whole like grain bill and the pairing and like the whole palate and nose and finish, all that stuff, and little history on that specific one. And you get to try. I mean, they only really distribute 2 or 3 of their whiskeys. It's basically like their bourbon, their rye, and I think there might be one other thing. But all the stuff that they have, you can buy there. So I bought a couple bottles of like their specialty stuff. I think my dad and my brother each bought one as well. I think between the two of us, we bought at least, I think, 4 different kinds of their whiskeys, which is cool, and
Nice.
it's all really, really good. It's just a good time. I love doing that stuff. I love going to a winery or a distillery or a brewery. And I especially like it when it's like that. I mean, it was super low key. You didn't get to talk to like an expert about it really, although like they were pretty slow at the time we were there. So like a couple of bartenders like walked by and chat with us for a few minutes here and there, and that was cool. Like some of it was like kind of like serious talk about like the whiskey itself. Some of it was just kind of general chat or whatever. But I like that. Some of these places act like it's a hassle, and it's like this is how you grow like loyalty and appreciation for your brand and all that. And like I understand like even if you want to keep strict hours as to when you're gonna have those sorts of things, like I understand like it shouldn't be 24/7 necessarily, but like just be cool. Like that's what people like. It's like it's a fun thing to come out and do. Like also you have an opportunity to make money. You're also gonna move
product.
Yeah.
Like that's silly. It's very silly when you know what? No, I'm not going there.
No,
I've got strong feelings on this.
I want to keep this on the positive because it was a positive experience, and that's what I'm saying. I'm it's my appreciation for that. They were super cool there. Like the stuff's a little on the expensive side, but that's fine. I like to buy local, especially when the stuff's good. I'll pay a little bit more if the stuff is going to be legitimately good because like sometimes like it isn't. So they were props to them. It was a cool time. It was a nice way to spend a couple hours on a Saturday, a snowy, gross Saturday. So. That was cool.
I dig it.
Do you have anything else? Because I have like one big kind of concluding consumption.
No, I mean, other than I've finally at a more steady cadence. I've been getting through Ashes of the Sun. I read like 5 to 10 pages before falling asleep in the book.
That's all right, man. Before you know it, you'll be done.
Exactly, but it's really good. Like it's good.
Is it part of the series or is it a standalone thing?
Yeah, there's multiple books. There's at least 2 out right now. I don't know how many there's going to be.
So I might check that out once I'm done with. I haven't listened to any of the Foundation.
The whole point is, I think I'm supposed to hand these off to you once I finish them.
Ah, okay.
So as soon as I finish the first one, you'll have it, and then you'll have the second one in about 3 years following that.
Nice.
It's about. You're like, yeah, I already read it.
Twice.
But it's good. I'm really enjoying it. Like the highlights are like there's this brother sister combo that are separated when they were young. Each chapter follows one of them, so it's like, and it goes back and forth. It's like following the sister and then following the brother, following the sister, following the brother. The sister's on one side of the law, the brother's on the other. The law is a bit of a gray area. We're not quite sure what's going on. The history, there's clearly a deep, deep lore and history that is given to you a little bit at a time, which has been kind of fun to unfold and makes it a little bit more exciting. And ultimately, you realize where they are in their journeys and like, oh boy, they're about to be in the same spot and they don't know where either of each other are or what they're up to in the world or in life. And I'm rapidly approaching those two characters colliding, and I'm really excited to see what happens when they do.
All right,
that's good.
Sounds like it's picking up in earnest, so that's good.
Yeah, in the book's defense, it's pretty steadily paced. Like it moves pretty quick. It's just it was a me problem, just because I'm not good at consistently sticking with the book and moving through it. I'll read a lot of it and then stop, and then a little bit and then stop, and then. Now I'm trying to be a little bit more consistent with it, and now I look forward to it at night to read it before going to bed. I mean, granted, I'm not going to do that tonight because by the time we're done, I'm just going to fall asleep on the floor. But
that's all right.
It's good. I'm really enjoying it.
Good. I look forward to starting it in a year.
Yeah. Definitely won't be able to give it to you Sunday.
That's okay. I'll survive.
Hey.
So. I had a couple of vacation days to burn because my year-end, my year anniversary at work was a few weeks ago. And so one of those days will be used to drive home from your house on Monday after the Oscars. 2 of those days was used this past weekend because I needed to come up with something to do. And I was like, oh, okay. I'll take off on Friday and Monday. Drove up to the Ithaca area where Vicky's parents own a bed and breakfast and hung out with her for a long weekend. It was a good time.
Nice.
We did a lot of activities, even though I was like really concerned after the big snow here Tuesday. It was supposed to snow again Friday. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to like get up early and like hope to get up there without getting like trapped on like the road somewhere with the snow. Thankfully, the storm slowed down. I was like, okay, get out of the normal time. Left like 9 o'clock. Got up there around like 1 o'clock. I was able to stop once and do all the stretch of the legs and all that fun stuff because it's like a 3.5 hour drive. Which, I mean, I drive a lot for work. I've driven a lot period of my life, like so many hundreds of thousands of miles in my life. It's not bad to do that sort of drive with someone or someone's, but doing that sort of drive on your own, I don't know, it starts to wear on me after like 2 hours or so.
I get that.
But yeah, got up Friday, and then we just got to do a bunch of fun stuff. We went to 4 different breweries over the course of the weekend. We went to a little one, a town or two over from where the bed and breakfast is. It was called Garrett Brewing. That was the one I sent you on like Friday night. It was they had some fun names of beers. There was the Hello John with the the logo was styled like in the way that like Jurassic Park was. So that was cool. There was a Harry Potter one. I forgot what it was now. But that it wasn't
something
like,
Patronum.
That's right. Oh, Lacto Patronum, right?
Lacto Patronum.
So I liked that. Those beers really good, really cool, like simple vibe. Like you walk in, like one room is they have like a couple of like those platforms like on like the windows where like you can like sit around like a table like in like comfy chairs. Nice. There's like high tops, there's a bar, and then the other room.
Oh, I love that.
There's all like there's where like the food window is, and there's all like the big steel fermenters. Like they brew there. It's like just on like Main Street in this little town. It's like that was like just like a really cool environment, like solid, neat. Like snack food. We just had like chips and queso and salsa and stuff like that. Tried flights, had some beers, whatever. Grabbed pizza, got snowed in. Great. The next day, wonderful. We went to Chili Fest in the Ithaca Commons, right in the
shut your mouth
downtown Ithaca. Oh yeah, we tried. Let's say 10 chilies. That's not correct because we bought 10 tickets. I think we tried 7 or 8 chilies, plus use a ticket for a beer, use a ticket for it was this company that sells like hot sauces. So I got like it was like 3 quesadilla slices with like one of each of the hot sauces on it. So I had those.
Absolutely spend a ticket on that.
Yeah, and then bought the hot sauces because they were really good. Man, they did some fun stuff with the chilies. There was one of them was like, in the city of Ithaca, there's Ithaca College and there's Cornell University. Mm-hmm. Cornell has, I guess, this big hospitality like degree and program and all that. And they have like the Statler, which is like fully run and operated by the students there. And their kitchen had a booth at Chili Fest. And in the chili was chili and corn cookie, which I guess was like a sugar cookie, but with like cornmeal in it.
Okay.
Goat cheese, pickled onions. So fucking good.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
So fucking good.
I'll take all of that, please. Thank you.
There was
thank you.
There was one chili. Now, I've made a bunch of different chilies, or my dad's made a bunch of different chilies over the years. And it's not uncommon to throw some like dark chocolate in your chili.
Mm-hmm.
But one of them didn't make the chili with chocolate. They did was they served you piping hot chili and then cracked dark chocolate on top of it.
Interesting.
So it started to kind of like, it wasn't incorporated in it. It was kind of like starting to melt as you're getting. So the first bite was probably a little too chocolatey for me, but the rest of the bites were fucking amazing because they had like that hint of chocolate that was like not quite there because it was just starting to like melt, and it was also like a better ratio throughout all of it. But that was really good. I had a beer that was made with sweet potato.
Sure. Why
not? As well as a hot sauce made with sweet potato. That first brewery I was talking about, the one we went to that first night, we struck up a friendship with the bartender, and she like was like, oh, do you guys want to try some hot sauces? We have like some house hot sauces that like the kitchen makes when they're bored or whatever. There was like an avocado hot sauce, delightful. There was a couple other ones, and then one was like they were trying to do something funky with like roasting sweet potatoes, and they went horribly wrong, so they turned it into a hot sauce. It wasn't bad. Weirdly had a sweet potato centric weekend, but yeah, really couple really good chilies. There was a pork chili.
Hot sauce was called "Whoops, all sweet potatoes."
Yeah. The hot sauce was called "Joke's on you, it's just sweet potato paste." There was like a pork chili with like tomatillo, like green like chili base.
Yeah.
Like
okay,
it phenomenal. Like basically all of them were really good. There was one that I didn't realize until they gave it to me because I thought they had another one that was chicken based, and this wasn't that one. It was mushroom based, and I took one bite and I did not have any more of that one. But that's more about the mushrooms than it is about the quality of the chili. It's just not for me. And then we walked across the street to a little brew pub called Revelry, which had pretty good beers. Tried some beers. Then we were driving back. It's like, why not stop at Ithaca Brewing Company? Sure. So stopped at Ithaca, had a flight, had some poutine.
Perfect.
Yep, it was great. No notes.
I love that.
Yeah, and then the next day, so her parents had been in Antigua. And they got back, and they drove us out to, it was like 20 minutes or so, half an hour away, whatever. It was like Grist Iron Brewery. It was like up on top of a mountain. No, on top of like the side of a hill overlooking one of the lakes up there, because it's between two of the major Finger Lakes, that area. I think it's Seneca and Cayuga. And had some fantastic like pretzels, beer cheese, mustard, all that fun stuff.
Love that.
Some more flights.
That right now. I'm actually pretty hungry.
Yeah, they had two really good sour beers at that one. There was like one that was like one of their like steady ones. It was like a blackberry sour, I want to say. And then they had another one which is like part of like a rotating series. It was like a raspberry jam, or I might have been having those back like reversed. I forget, but both of them were fucking fantastic.
Oh, sounds great. I
had so much good beer while I was up there. And like I said, yeah, got to go to 4 different breweries, did a little hike up to Gannick Falls, which is right outside Ithaca, which is like I think the tallest single stream falls in, not the world surely, but I don't know, probably America.
This is one of those stupid sports stats where they have to tack on a bunch of qualifiers to make it sound like it's unique.
Well, it's just the one qualifier, single stream, as opposed to like Niagara Falls, which is like multiple things converging into one. Okay. You know? But I just forget what the qualifier, if it was New York or if it was the US. It definitely wasn't the world. It was either the New York or US, I don't remember. It was a pretty big falls.
It's funny that you say that. I mean, I know you don't remember exactly what the qualifiers were, but like the fact that you remember that there were qualifiers, this is the retention thing that I'm talking about. Like you remembering that. If it was me coming back from the trip, we saw waterfall.
I'm gonna look it up now because
it was nice.
I'm gonna look it up now because I feel bad because it was definitely explained to me and I just don't remember. Hey, that picture looks familiar. It's pronounced Taganic. It doesn't necessarily 100% phonetically look like that. It's a 400-foot gorge through layers of sandstone, shale, and limestone that were once the bed of an ancient sea. With a 215-foot plunge, this waterfall stands 3 stories taller than Niagara Falls. Enjoy swimming in Cayuga Lake. No, that I don't want to know about the park. I just want to know about the falls.
3 stories taller? There's a stat.
Yeah. It didn't look taller than Niagara Falls.
Is a story an exact unit of measurement?
I think so, although I think it tends to be used kind of loosely and like colloquially. How tall is a story? We're gonna learn something today. How tall is a story in feet? So I was right. The height of each story in a building is based on ceiling height, floor thickness, and building material.
Oh my god.
With a general average of about 14 feet. I thought it was supposed to be in the 10 to 12 range, but it seems to be...
Okay.
Ooh, what about measuring
How many cubits?
How many hands? Oh, come on. This is even worse. I'm on measuringstuff.com. The height of a story in a building can vary greatly, and even stories in houses can be slightly different heights. A story can be anywhere from 9 to 25 feet tall.
I'm getting the feeling that somebody eyeballed the difference between the two waterfalls and was like, that's about 3 stories.
In general, however, a story in a home is usually between 9 and 14 feet tall, and a story in a more commercial building is generally around 10 feet tall, although it can be up to 25 feet. Like I said, I was kind of like estimated it as 12-ish feet.
Okay. And basically, if you're seeing something measured in stories, it doesn't matter. That's what I'm getting out of this. No one knows. No one can know. There's no way to know how big it is.
It's the Heisenberg principle, but instead it's kind of sort of like a certain amount of, it's measuring basketball hoops, whatever.
Yeah. Kevin Smith measures things in Jawses.
In Jawses?
Yeah.
Which is like especially confusing because like the size of Jaws is unrealistic for the size of a great white shark. Like
Correct.
A great white shark's like 20 feet long, and like they were like, it's 40 feet long.
Yeah. Oh man. You got me thinking about all this chili. I had made a curry the other night, which like is vaguely reminiscent of the consistency and texture and what you're getting out of chili. So I'm going to talk about that for a second because it was freaking delicious, and I made it out of lamb. And so what I did, I completely winged it. So I fried some onions and garlic, as you do with every meal.
As one does.
I added the ground lamb and got that texture browned a bit. I added some finely chopped dandelion greens, some very small cubed sweet potato, larger chunks of carrot, and then I did a little tomato paste and a bunch of like curry powder and some spices, mixed all of that, brought that together, topped it off with some beef bone broth, and let that simmer down a bit. Added a bag of chickpeas to it, and I gotta tell you, it was fucking fantastic. I'm gonna have that for dinner tonight.
It sounds pretty good. Sorry, it just reminded me. I don't know what specifically in that story reminded me of. I should have included in my consumption of the Ithaca area that Vicky's dad Wally is a chef. Has been for many years. He's the cooking side of the bed and breakfast, and
he's the breakfast.
Yes.
I don't want to finish that thought.
No. We've said enough.
I guess that makes you the bed.
Wow. Anyway, they made me a nice brunch when I was leaving Monday, and they made stuffed French toast.
Okay, stuffed with what?
I've never heard of such a phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know one could stuff a French toast. Turns out a stuffed French toast is really 2 French toasts.
It's a French toast sandwich. Let's be serious.
Yes. Stuffed with brie and ham.
We have some sort of like reverse croque madame. What's going on here?
Reverse what?
Croque madame.
I don't know what that is.
Isn't that the one with the
dead lady?
Ham and the egg? Hang on a second. I'm gonna find this out. You keep going. You tell me what else was going on there.
So stuffed French toast with brie and ham, topped with apple compote. And the French toast was pumpkin swirl French toast. There was avocado toast with eggs and bacon and home fries. It was several meals worth of meal.
That sounds amazing.
Pretty incredible. As well as
croque monsieur. I don't know how you say that word in French. Is a French ham and cheese dish on buttered bread. It's often served as a sandwich with the cheese and ham melted into the bread by gently browning the outside of the sandwich. A croque madame is similar, but it has an egg on top of it.
Well, the egg wasn't on top of the French toast.
It was in
apple compote was drizzled atop the French toast, and then you didn't eat it like a sandwich. You slice it with fork and
cut it.
knife.
Yeah,
to have a bite incorporating all of the
It sounds
layers.
amazing.
It was fantastic. And even the night before that, we had chicken enchilada soup, which was really good.
Oh, yeah. Good. Get down.
Yeah. With jalapeno
sounds
cornbread.
I mean, sure. I have made jalapeno cornbread. I love it. The past few years for Thanksgiving, I've been making the cornbread from scratch, and not like a mix or anything. It's not that hard. But the key, following one of Babish's recipes, is I use duck fat, and you get it to a hot shimmer in your pan before you pour the batter into it, and the bottom of it fries.
Oh.
And then you bake the whole thing. So the bottom is crispy fried in duck fat. And then it's fluffy cornbread on top of that.
So it's a week's worth of meals in one bite.
It's so good. It's just each bite is one artery down.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's wonderful. Worth it, even.
Oh, yeah.
Tomorrow we're going to prime rib night at Heirloom Kitchen.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Want to get to some Oscars before I get hungry again after this conversation?
Sure. So, as I had mentioned in the beginning of the show, I have a little something extra for us this year as we go through these. The Hollywood Reporter put out this article on there's a math model with predictions for the winners of each category. So I thought it might be fun to look at what they predict on top of what we're saying is going to be the winner.
Okay.
And see what happens. So I have that handy as we go through.
All right. Well, we'll start with actor in a leading role because that was what the splash page led me to on the Oscars for whatever reason. So again, the nominees are Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Paul Mescal for After Sun, and Bill Nighy for Living. Now, I have seen The Banshees of Inisherin and probably 40% of Elvis, and that's it. What about you?
I have seen The Banshees of Inisherin of this list. I will say I have seen a number of clips of the performances. I've definitely seen the sizzle reel clips that they use for the nominations and whatnot. I feel like Brendan Fraser is going to win.
That would seem pretty obvious to me. And I would like to get to that movie. It just hasn't been a big priority because I wasn't nominated. I always try and start with the Best Picture nominees and prioritize the ones that have multiple other major nominations as well.
For sure.
Which is Banshees was great for us because we got 4 acting nominees as well as picture and director and screenplay and all that shit. So
absolutely. My pick is Brendan Fraser just because from what I've seen of that movie, and then also he did win the SAG Award and his speech was awesome, and I want to see him do another one.
He's won a few. Has he won all of those major?
I don't know if he won all of them, but he's definitely he seems to be a front runner.
To me,
he also just seems so gracious.
Yeah, I would be baffled if he didn't win this. I've seen little clips of that, but it just seems like that's destined to win.
The math model predicts Austin Butler.
Really?
Yeah, it's a close race though.
I mean, I will say from the bits I've seen so far, I mean, it's a pretty transformative performance. He is nailing an impression of Elvis, and whether that's the be all and the end all of what a best actor should be, I don't know necessarily, but it is a pretty impressive transformation, I would say so far. It's a wildly different performance than the only other thing I've seen him in. So
yeah, what was that?
We talked about it a while ago. It was that trashy MTV take on what the hell was those book shows? It was one of those fantasy books from the 60s. It was the Shannara Chronicles.
Oh, okay.
He was the lead in that. There was 2 seasons, I want to say, of that show. It wasn't very good, but it was vaguely entertaining.
So your pick is
I think Brendan Fraser's going to win.
Cool.
But I wouldn't be upset if Austin Butler won. I wouldn't be upset if Colin Farrell won. I thought that they
had a pretty good performance.
Yeah, I really like Colin Farrell in that. I think that he really totally crushed it, specifically that the scene when he confronts him in the bar.
Oh, that was great. That's definitely the clip they'll play on Sunday.
Yeah, that was really, really, really strong work. But to me, it seems like it'll have to be Frasier, and I'd like to get to that eventually.
What a weird movie.
Yeah, it was. My dad watched it on the plane. He's in Phoenix right now. He watched it on the plane. He's like, I watched that, and I'm glad I only watched it on the plane, basically. And he's like, it was such a weird movie. He's like, what the hell? I was like, yeah, I could have told you weren't gonna like that. I said, but like, it is weird as hell, but like, I really appreciate it for like the art of it. And he's like, yeah, no, like I was like, because like I thought the performances, like all four of them crushed it. He's like, yeah, no, like it was like they were all really good, but like it's just not what I'm going into a movie for. Which he's consistent about that. Like,
respect.
I'll give him that. Yeah. It's I think to me, I try to go into a particular movie with the expectations for what it's supposed to be. Like I do not go to the Banshees of Inisherin for the same things that I'm going to Cocaine Bear for. And I'm not going to compare them. They are apples and oranges. They're not the same thing. And I really respected and appreciated the art of Banshees, even if I didn't love the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I really had fun with Cocaine Bear, but like as like a film, it's hard to call it one.
Right.
Actor in a supporting role. We got Brendan Gleeson for Banshees. We have Brian Tyree Henry for Causeway. We have Judd Hirsch for The Fabelmans. Barry Keoghan for The Banshees. We have Ke Kwan for Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's a stacked category.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty bonkers. I feel like, there's no. I didn't see The Fabelmans, but based on the rest of the lineup here, like there's nobody that I would be upset if they won. However, I really think Ke Kwan should get it.
I think it'd be great. He just to see like his joy restored in working in this medium has been great, and how gracious he's been. And what a cool moment it was for him to meet up with Harrison Ford for the first time in 35 years. Like all of that was so special, and his whole speech about being kind was great, and even some of like most of his performance is kind of sort of one note, not in a bad way, just like very similar. But he got certain individual moments where he gets to be like a badass, and he's like jumping around, and it's like you buy it, even though he's been this like meek and mild mannered guy this whole time.
I don't know. I feel like he there's like a ton of range to that performance because he's bouncing all over the place between these various versions of the character that he's playing. And I just feel like to be able to switch so quickly between them, and then to also deliver each time, and to easily, like, he could have easily stolen the spotlight with any of those performances, but plays it back just enough where it's like it feels like it's part of the ensemble versus trying to break through. Like I don't know. He did a tremendous job.
Yeah. But I also
he is a front runner in this mathematical.
That's not surprising to me. Yeah. I figured just like for no other reason than the goodwill he's gained along the way, I figured he was going to be. And it is a good performance. I hate when I respect it because I thought they were both great, but I kind of hate when two actors from the same movie are nominated because I feel like they're just going to cancel each other out. Like neither one of them has a chance to win because some people are going to prefer one versus the other. I thought they were both great. If either of them won, that would be totally fine with me. I would lean towards Barry. I thought he was really, really strong. It's a tough role. It's a fine line to walk with that sort of character.
Very dark.
But also to be able to give you a laugh here and there. I mean, it's a blackly comedic role. Like it's so
really nuanced performance to not be doing it in a way that's insulting.
That's what I'm saying. It's a fine line. It's, it goes back to like the Tropic Thunder conversation of when you're trying to play a character who isn't quite all there as we conventionally would define it. But to give it heart and to give it some warmth and comedy, but also to show the darkness of that situation.
Heavy stuff. Yeah, but definitely wouldn't be upset with that.
And Brian Tyree Henry, we talked about in Bullet Train, is fantastic.
He's just great.
Just neither of us have seen the movie, so
not at all a Diesel.
No.
More of Thomas.
Yeah, I suspect. I would suspect that Ke Kwan's going to win, but I don't know for a fact. If anyone won in this, I guess it wouldn't surprise me.
I think I would be a little bit. The more that I think about it, like if in a category together, the other four, like I wouldn't care whoever wins, but like I think that he should be. Like he pulls ahead for me from the performances that I've seen. So,
okay,
I'd like him to win.
Actress in a leading role, we have Cate Blanchett for Tar. We have Ana de Armas for Blonde. Andrea Riseborough for To Leslie. Michelle Williams for The Fabelmans. And Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Did we ever hear anything about Andrea Riseborough? Like, did that so-called investigation ever yield any...
Oh, I don't even know what that's what.
Oh, we talked about it when the nominees came out. There was some talk about whether there was improper lobbying of the Academy because this actress comes from like an insane amount of money or something like that. Whether or not she bought this nomination, essentially.
Weird. I vaguely remember this conversation.
It's a weird story because no one saw the movie.
Yeah.
But she was nominated.
She's not going to win, so it's fine.
I certainly hope not.
We have to address the elephant in the room here. Kim and I do not care for Michelle Williams, and I'm tired of seeing her face every year.
She's one of those actresses where she's so well regarded for her performances, but I haven't watched any of those things that she's so well regarded for.
I've seen her and stuff. It's not that there's nothing that stands out to me, and it's and everybody's always like, "Oh my god, how incredible!" And I'm like, "But why? Like, what am I missing? Because I don't see it."
I'll sum up my thoughts on her by saying that I have seen Venom,
and I would say that doesn't really drastically differ from the other performances that I've seen her.
Oh, so that would seem like a negative because I'm being like fair. I don't have a strong opinion on her because all of her critically acclaimed work is not stuff I've consumed. So I've literally seen her in one role. It's not one I would nominate her for. It's also not one that anyone is nominating her for. Like it's not like that's I'm not holding that against her. It's just the only thing I've seen her in, and she was fine in it. Like sometimes some scenes she seemed bored, and I don't blame her because it's not like a good movie. It's a little odd that she's been nominated for so many things at this point, and for me to not have seen any of them.
Yeah. Well,
did you see any of the other stuff other than everything?
No, multiple times I almost watched Tar, but then I would watch the trailer and go, I don't think I want to do this tonight.
I'm going to try to finish Elvis and see if I can get to Tar before the Oscars. I just ran out of time. There was too many things.
I feel like if there's anything that I should get to beforehand, I feel like I should watch Elvis, and I feel like I should watch Fabelmans.
Yeah. I probably should have watched The Fabelmans. I forgot that they were all like the actors and actresses who were nominated for it. If I remembered that, I would have watched that.
I feel like Tar is going to be the movie this year where like it gets to the end and it's over, and I'm like, okay, but why? Like that's
Power of the Dog.
No, it's got to be better than that.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh, if you insist.
I can't imagine another. Well, no, that's not true. I mean, how do you? I don't know how. Like you have this trifecta at the bottom right now, and it's Power of the Dog, Roma, and The Phantom Thread. I can't imagine having to have a discussion
about building over Mount Rushmore.
About. It's like the Mount Rushmore in like the reverse world in the Zelda game. It's like it's just all the bad stuff. No, I'm not I don't know. If you watch that, you can let me know how it is. It seems a little bit like, I mean, I'm not surprised she's nominated just by what I've seen in the trailer.
So, unlike Michelle Williams, I've seen Cate Blanchett in a handful of things, and I do think she's a fantastic actress. So, I'm not surprised she's nominated. I think she's probably going to win it. That movie, though, I don't think will fare well for any of the other categories.
No, I doubt it. I did coming into this. I thought maybe Michelle Yeoh would take it home, but this model is not looking good for her.
No,
Kate Blanchett has a 52.9% chance versus a 26.3.
Yeah, it's all along. It's kind of been. It seemed like she's been dragging that movie kicking and screaming to, like, the nominations from the people I've read and listened to. Doesn't seem like anyone was like super impressed with the movie, but everyone seems to be impressed with her.
Interesting. Okay.
Actress in a supporting role: Angela Bassett for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Hong Chow for The Whale, Carrie Condon, The Banshees of Inisherin, Jamie Lee Curtis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Stephanie Sue for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Carrie Condon.
She was the sister in Banshees.
Why did I think that her name was something different?
I don't know. Why did you think that?
I have no idea. I don't know what I thought it was, but I definitely didn't think that. Of these, I have seen 1, 2, 3 of these performances. 4 of these performances. Yep. I would... My pick would probably be Carrie Condon.
Yeah, I would agree. I will give Jamie Lee Curtis credit.
She's a close second for me
for just going full 11 in that role.
Yeah, it's for that whole thing, circling the receipt tap. There was something about the entire thing. It would be pretty awesome if she won, and I would be happy about it.
It's an unexpected nomination. It's not something I would have really considered nominating her for.
Mm-hmm.
I got to be honest. This is kind of a weak class for this one. I did think Stephanie Sue was good. She was really good.
I don't think it's a best supporting actress role, though.
Yeah, I mean, they did put a lot of the dramatic weight on her in the movie, and she did get to go weird with some of the aspects of the movie too, which is cool. We love how Hong Chow pronounces tortillas, but that's in a different movie.
These are tortillas.
And Angela Bassett's pretty much great in everything she's in, but I wouldn't really nominate her for that specific role.
Yeah.
In this specific movie,
I agree.
I would think it's a pretty clear choice of Carrie Condon. That's where I would go. I would think that would be the person who would win as well. I thought she was great. I thought she was.
There was something about that performance that does feel very like best supporting actress. Like this was a standout performance. It was great. She's my pick for sure. But this model has Angela Bassett at the top with 39.8%, Jamie Lee Curtis coming in close at 26.8%, and Carrie Condon at 22.1%, and Stephanie Sue and Hong Chow. Is that?
I think so.
Is 4.7. So they're barely, they're like not in the running according to this model, but interesting. We'll see how that goes.
All right, now we can be discerning with what we choose to do from here on. Would you like to do feature film or no? Animated feature film, rather.
Read the nominees real quick.
So we have Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, The Sea Beast, and Turning Red.
Gotcha. Okay, we don't really have to make any picks since we didn't see any of these. The model has it's not a question on the model. Pinocchio's winning.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've heard, I would be surprised if that one did. Cinematography.
I'm just gonna. We're not gonna probably go through it, but the documentary one was just under that in the model for me, which I think is probably the most interesting. Is the tightest race that I've seen on this little report, which is kind of cool. But anyway, cinematography.
You have All Quiet on the Western Front, Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths, Elvis, Empire of Light, and Tar. I've seen 1.5 of these movies.
I would pick, like, from trailers alone, I would pick Elvis.
Yeah, I mean, we both remarked that we enjoyed some of how All Quiet was shot, but like Elvis, even early on in the movie, like there's already some of it's too much for me. I mean, I think it's just a Baz Luhrmann thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm not like really all like for his style overall, but like I can appreciate aspects of it. Some of it is super slickly shot, and some of these like quick transitions is kind of intoxicating. And like the way that scene that was shot was like the extended cut that was when that movie was first kind of teased last year, where it's early on in the movie when he's first does his first major performance and the girls go nuts. Like it, like that whole scene is bonkers, and a part of it is really truly how it's shot. It is a pretty singular scene in movies that I've watched of all time. Like it just like it's like I've not seen a lot of scenes like that.
I think I'm gonna try to get to it. I'd like to see it beforehand. All Quiet on the Western Front being on there, like I get it, but again, we talked about this a little bit earlier.
1917 is the one.
Yeah, that one was better. Different year.
Yeah, costume design
could be better.
Babylon, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. I have seen 4 of these 5 movies. This is not a super inspiring choices, like because like nothing in here was like unconventional. When it's all just like period pieces, like I'm kind of like to a certain extent I'm like whatever. But yeah, I would actually give this to Babylon. I mean, when you consider the sheer size of the cast and some of the ridiculous shit some of these people are wearing, and how some of it is like very period specific, like I would give it that one. Like it's probably the only thing it can win for. So
this is definitely a tough category for me to even have any sort of judgment in, because it's not something that I really pay that much attention to. That being said, Wakanda Forever, like there's a lot of really interesting costumes.
That's true too. Like it is a worthy candidate.
You know, they develop an entire wardrobe for an under the sea like mutant.
That's a good point. And also, you know, when you consider like some like the ceremonial like stuff that like the like, they have a couple of like funerals like that stuff's pretty cool.
There's something really cool about like there seems to be like this mixture of like ancient tribe like wardrobes and accessories, but like in this in like an advanced like technology state, like so like to merge those two things and to have it feel right, I feel like it's a chore, like something very difficult for them to actually pull off, and you don't. I feel like you do not question it for a second, like when you're watching that movie. So that's the only way I can gauge it. So I'd be cool with that. Like Elvis, for example, it's like okay, you find some pictures of the I don't know. You know,
I mean, I gotta be honest. Like the suit that they put on, not just the one suit, a bunch of suits they put on Austin Butler are ridiculous. The suit and the prosthetic they put on Tom Hanks. I would love a documentary on just how they got Tom Hanks on screen doing what he's doing. Is it him? Is it Lerman? Like I don't know. Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. It's unique.
You know what I think is interesting is there's a difference in category between costume design and makeup and hairstyling. When I feel like I know there are different departments for sure, which definitely. I get that being the separation. But for somebody like me, I feel like it's easier to judge those as a group.
It sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes it definitely seems to have a lot of overlap.
Yeah. Like when something like Power of the Dog is on costume design, I'm just like, just go away. Like
that was my point about like period pieces, kind of like being like, okay, like at a certain point, there's kind of like a cap as to how seriously I can take this.
Yeah.
Directing. Oh, sorry. What does the model say is going to win?
Oh, for costume design, Black Panther.
Oh, interesting.
But it's Elvis is not far behind. The others are not close.
Interesting. Directing. You got the Banshees of Inisherin, Martin McDonagh, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, Fablemans, Steven Spielberg, Tar, Todd Field, and Triangle of Sadness, Ruben Östlund. I don't know.
This is a tough one.
I mean, it feels like this is if Steven Spielberg can't win for making a movie about himself, like. He's the only person holding him back. telling that story.
That's really funny.
You would think he should be able to clean this up. I haven't seen the movie. I've heard it's good. No one saw it. Like from a box office standpoint, like it was a huge flop. But I wonder if Steven Spielberg actually cares about that. I think he just wanted to make this movie, and that's fine. Like if anyone's earned that, he has. For me, I having only seen Banshees and Everything Everywhere All at Once, I mean, we're talking about directing. It's a tough battle between those two movies for me because on the one hand, like the degree of difficulty on a lot of what they were doing in Banshees wasn't super high, but on the other hand, to coax out the performances that led to 4 acting nominations.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Requires a director to do pretty excellent work.
I mean, granted,
I think that gets overlooked a lot of times with that.
Everything Everywhere All at Once is up there too, though.
Yeah, for totally different reasons. I mean,
but the same. All of those actors are up.
They were, and they were all good. I think we've been by and large leaning more towards the Banshees actors, but like that too. But that one had what stands out to me from a directing standpoint with that movie is different. It's like just the audacity of the premise and the ability to execute that and communicate it on screen in a way that is visually and narratively and emotionally satisfying is a pretty incredible achievement, I would say.
Yeah. Banshees is my pick for director.
Okay.
But I feel like Everything Everywhere All at Once is going to win, and the model agrees.
Okay. I'm going back and forth between those two. To me, and again, going with, I've only seen those 2 movies. I honestly don't know what I want to go with because I think that the cases for both of them, despite being pretty substantially different in a lot of ways, I don't know. I feel like I'm going to go back and forth on this all the way up until it's announced, and then it's going to end up being The Fabelmans, and it's not going to matter that I never chose. But I would go with Banshees. I would probably reverse these on Best Picture.
Yeah,
but
that's where I am. Everything you already know this from our talk on that movie, but Everything Everywhere All at Once is my pick for Best Picture.
But from a direction standpoint, to get all of that out of that cast,
like there's no reason, like none of what happened in that movie should work.
Yeah.
I think that's one way of looking at it.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
You might be able to say the same thing about Everything Everywhere All at Once, though. Too.
Yeah, that's
hot dog. They made hot dog fingers work.
It's a movie. Well, I disagree. I hate those so much.
I hate it with everything inside.
That's a movie that probably couldn't have been made 15 years ago, or like if it was, it wouldn't have been nominated for fuck all.
Right.
Do we care about documentary feature film? Do you want me to just read the nominees?
You can skip it.
Okay. What about documentary short film?
No, I don't care.
Film editing?
Sure.
We have Banshees, Elvis, Everything Everywhere, Tar, and Top Gun Maverick.
So, without having seen it, I feel like Elvis would have been a shoo-in.
Yeah, I mean, I saw all but Tar on this list. I would go with Elvis, even with, like I said, only having watched not quite half of it.
And then on the other hand...
Although you could argue sometimes that they don't really edit it because, like, scenes don't quite end. But, like, that's, like, an active choice, and it kind of, like, bleeds from one thing to a next in a way that feels very intentional.
Which is a style and a craft in itself, right?
It's intentional.
And on the flip side of that, something like Top Gun, to make that feel real has a lot to do with the editing. That's
true, because like they're jumping between pilots in planes versus actors in planes, and good luck figuring
and it's
out
seamless
when they've changed. Yeah.
You know what? I think Top Gun might be my pick for editing.
Okay. What does the model say?
The model says Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Really?
Which, like...
Sure.
Yeah. To me, though, like...
Hey, listen, they managed to pull off a scene in which 2 adult men leapt onto a sex toy.
Yeah.
And it somehow worked, so...
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
International feature film. You have All Quiet on the Western Front from Germany. Because that's how these nominees are done. I don't understand why.
Oh my god.
Argentina 1985 from Argentina. Close from Belgium. EO from Poland. The Quiet Girl from Ireland. Weirdly, The Banshees of Inisherin from Ireland is not on here.
It wasn't a foreign film.
I mean, all the actors and director were all Irish, so.
Yeah, but it was made and shot in English, no? I don't know, like, I guess that doesn't really, obviously it's the same, but like, I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say. It wasn't made internationally, like, it was shot internationally, but it wasn't an internationally made movie.
Yeah, I don't know what the rules for this, if it just has to do with, like, the distribution or, like, the production house.
I would say probably the production company.
Well, anyway, I don't have strong feelings in this category, do you?
No, I would just assume. These are always easy to predict. If the movie is also up for Best Picture, it's winning the international category.
That's usually the case, yeah. Although I have heard strong things about Argentina 1985, so.
Then why isn't it up for Best Picture?
I don't know. Politics sometimes.
Sure.
Makeup and hairstyling, do we care?
I guess Elvis. Next.
Although the Batman's up, and, they did a fantastic job of making the eye black around his eyes.
Penguin.
That's a good point.
I totally agree with your very silly joke. Penguin. When that movie ended, and I was like, I can't believe that was Colin Farrell, and Kim was like, who?
I mean, it's actually a strong list of nominees for this category. It's All Quiet on the Western Front, The Batman, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Elvis, and The Whale. Like, those are all things that should be nominated for this category.
Sure.
I don't have a strong opinion for what should win.
Yeah, me neither. I'd be happy to see Batman take something home.
Yeah, I mean, that would be kind of cool.
Is Batman up for score? Because that
it's not, and I know that because it's the next category.
Huh.
Music, original score. All Quiet on the Western Front. Also, all Quiet on the Western Front. Babylon, The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans.
I will say that none of these movies' songs have come up on my radio station must have film scores. So, I don't know.
Interesting. I wouldn't be able to pick out the score, like any of the major themes or songs in any of these. Maybe Babylon, actually, but but I don't know. I mean, music was fine in all of these, but it didn't really like strike me in any of them. None of these movies made me like, oh shit, that movie totally crushed it with the music.
It's a tight race here, but Babylon ekes it out.
Okay. That's fine with me. The music was good in that movie, and it's obviously a major part of it. It's a major part of the way Chazelle does his stuff, so. We have music original song.
Mm-hmm.
We have Applause from Tell It Like a Woman, music and lyrics by Diane Warren. Hold My Hand from Top Gun Maverick, music and lyrics by Lady Gaga and Blood Pop. Lift Me Up from Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, music by Thames, Rihanna.
I still feel that one.
Ryan Coogler and Ludwig Göransson, lyrics by Thames and Ryan Coogler. You have Natu Natu by from RRR, music by, I'm going to butcher these, so I'm not even going to bother. It's two people from India. I'm going to butcher their names. I've never been good with Indian names.
Okay.
This Is a Life from Everything Everywhere All at Once. Music by Ryan Lott, David Byrne, and Mitski. Lyric by Ryan Lott and David Byrne.
I don't have much to contribute to this category, except for, like I said, Lift Me Up still sticks with me from that movie. So yeah. that would be my pick.
It was a good song. It's funny, this song it's talking about from Top Gun is not the song I remember from Top Gun. The song I remember from Top Gun is when they're playing that weird football game on the beach. It's not this song. Not that I'm saying that song should have been
The
nominated
two
over this one.
football? The two footballs?
Yes. It's just not.
It's like the 4D chess of football.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're both offense and defense.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. But I don't know what song this is referring to, honestly.
Yeah, me neither.
I know people have raved about the song from RRR.
Yeah, the model has that taking it home, and I have actually heard that. Okay. That does come up on that radio station.
Oh, so. Okay. Fair enough.
I will say, when it comes up, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Sometimes that'll happen when I'm listening to like the movie scores stuff, because it'll be like, you know, a Hans Zimmer or John Williams, or it'll be something a little bit more low key or more mellow. But then all of a sudden, I'm like, why am I sweating? Like, what is it like? Why am I really anxious and intense right now? And the music has picked up.
Best Picture. All Quiet on the Western Front.
No.
Avatar: The Way of Water.
Can't say.
Banshees of Inisherin. Elvis. Everything Everywhere All at Once. The Fabelmans. Tar. Top Gun Maverick. Triangle of Sadness. And Women Talking.
You know my pick. My pick is Everything Everywhere All at Once. That movie really just that stuck with me. It was so good.
Yeah. I think it's probably got as good a chance as any to win. It seems to have built enough momentum that seems to be the case. I'm fine with it winning. It wasn't, like I said, I really liked it. I didn't love it quite as much as you did.
Mm-hmm.
I still think that, picture's in the name of the category, and I would give this to Avatar: The Way of Water, because I didn't think that this was an overwhelming class of Best Picture nominees, and the blue and green people look like blue and green people. It's
visual effects, though.
It is, but it's an achievement in filmmaking. This is for Best Picture. If Gravity could win,
that movie. That's on the list.
If Gravity could win, then why can't this movie?
Yeah.
And I'm not this isn't something like I'm banging the table for, where like I'm going to be offended if something else wins. But for me, I watched 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a half of these nominees. Of the 5.5 I've seen, I'd give it to Avatar. And the presumptive favorite is one of the movies I saw. So I feel comfortable making that claim. It's almost certainly not going to happen, but that's the way I would go.
That would be a very interesting upset.
Yeah.
Wow. This has Everything Everywhere All at Once well ahead of everything else.
That's where the momentum has gone. So I would suspect that will be the case.
Granted, these are just percent chances, and obviously it doesn't mean anything. But
sure. And like I said, I'm fine with that. It's not a super strong class, so I don't feel super strongly about anyone winning or losing.
Just announced the Best Picture, and they're like, Moonlight. What happened?
I do wonder, in a weaker class, in a time when there was an opportunity for the box office and to be reestablished, and getting a couple of major nominees for quote unquote the people, if it was only Top Gun Maverick or only Avatar nominated, if one of them would win it, but if the two of them will detract from each other, because they're both like the big box office sensation type of movies.
There's something about Maverick where I just don't get it being on this list. I really, really liked it.
It's a lot of the same argument I just made for Avatar, where it's an achievement in filmmaking. So I think to a lesser extent, but it's a similar argument.
Yeah, and I'm on the side of, I guess that's picking one of the pretty incredible things that it's doing and using that as the prop for putting it in Best Picture, right? I think the thing for Top Gun Maverick is the sound and the editing, right? But the story itself is fine. The movie itself is fun. It's really it's a good movie. It's incredibly better than it's so much better than Top Gun. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Where Top Gun is not a good movie. I've enjoyed it here and there, but it's not a good movie. This is great. It's a really but it also can't exist without Top Gun, which is really funny too. But
production design. Do we care?
Sure.
All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, Babylon, Elvis, The Fabelmans.
So it sounds like, from your rundown, that Babylon would probably win that.
I mean, I would think it has a strong chance. Again, this is one of the few things where it has a chance to compete, because I mean there is a scene when I say early on in the movie, I mean after the 45-minute cold open. So the first half of the movie, where it shows a day in the life of these silent movies being made, which was a cocaine snort, but also pretty fascinating. I'm assuming it's pretty true to what was going on there. And I was so unprepared for what that looked like. They were shooting 50 movies in a patch of desert all at the same time. And it was just
amazing.
Pure chaos. This is literally you walked 2 feet and you were leaving the set of one movie and you were on the set of another movie. Because it didn't matter, because they didn't have to worry about the sound.
Right.
It was actually, that was a really cool sequence. And them building and destroying those sets while all of that's going on was really cool. And it's kind of meta for this this category, as well as so many other scenes. So to me, I'd be okay with it winning for that. It's pretty impressive.
Cool.
I would say probably to whatever extent though, this is a pretty worthy category. The amount of work done on these sets for all of them is pretty gargantuan.
Yeah. The model has Babylon taking it.
Yeah, that's not surprising, considering in a lot of ways it's a love letter to Hollywood. I mean, they tend to like that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Short film animated?
No.
Short film live action?
No.
Sound?
Okay. Top Gun. Next.
The nominees were All Quiet, Avatar, The Batman, Elvis, and Top Gun.
Mm-hmm.
Visual effects.
Avatar. Next.
I concur. It's
don't even. I mean, if you want to nod at something else, that's fine.
I'm just going to read the competitors: All Quiet, The Batman, Black Panther, Top Gun Maverick. So
I would say the obviously this one doesn't really seem like a question, but the practical effects of the Batman were pretty strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love some practical effects.
Writing adapted screenplay: All Quiet, Glass Onion, Living, Top Gun Maverick, Women Talking. This is a weird category.
The model has Women Talking.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that's adapting exactly. I'm guessing it's a book, but
I don't know. We read about this category. It could fucking be anything. A thought.
Yeah. No. I'm just.
Somebody had a thought, and then somebody else made the movie, so it's adapted.
I'm saying that out of mostly curiosity. We had that.
I'm curious too. I don't know. Well, isn't it based on it's based on a true story? That's why.
Okay.
That would make it the adapted screenplay.
That's correct. I'm torn on the All Quiet thing. The adaptation stuff, when I'm have a connection, not that loved the movie or the book, but when I have a connection to the source material, I can have a hard time parsing what I feel about an adaptation in those respects. I didn't like this adaptation. Doesn't mean that other people should or shouldn't like it. It just wasn't for me. I mean, if you wanna, you could make an argument that what you were saying before, the fact that the original Top Gun was bad and that this one was good, that's a hell of an adaptation.
Yeah, that's right. Glass Onion, though. Glass Onion's my pick.
It's certainly a fun pick.
We've reached an infraction point at going through this list.
No, it's such a weird category. I don't know how to tackle it.
Yeah,
what does your mom say?
I really have nothing to say. Women Talking, which makes sense. I feel like from Well, I guess some of these are up for Best Picture. But I think this also hints at something else. It's like the others are. This one probably is a deserving Best Picture nominee then, because it's like so far ahead of the others
Yeah.
that are also in the Best Picture category. I don't know. Something tells me that I should probably watch this one.
Okay.
But
Writing original screenplay. Banshees, Everything Everywhere, The Fablemans, Tar, Triangle of Sadness.
I don't. I screenplay. I guess Banshees again, similar to like the directing thing. Like it's I feel like it's an interestingly complex screenplay, whereas Everything Everywhere All at Once, it actually fumbles the complexities of the story.
Yes, that was my criticism somewhat of the movie when we did it a while back. So
yeah, so it feels like it shouldn't really even be in the category for that, like because like that I feel like one of the key elements of a screenplay is conveying to you the whole story, right? Like
yeah.
I should be able to read the dialogue and understand what's going on, but like they definitely just it's funky. I'll go Banshees on this one.
I would probably agree. I really only saw those two movies, so I wonder if the Fablemans get some love on this, but I would go Banshees. I mean, the dialogue in a lot of it was really strong. So
the model has Everything Everywhere All at Once at 39.8 and Banshees at 36.6, so it's a tight race.
Okay. Well, that's it. That's the end of our list.
Wow.
That's our roster.
That's it. That's Flix. That's I swear, I only filled the glass once. But neat. I'm looking forward to this. I love watching the Academy Awards. It's just fun. It's just fun. I'm hoping that it doesn't get awkward this year.
I mean, there can't be a situation that exceeds Will Smith getting up out of nowhere and slapping Chris Rock.
Yeah. Except for Jimmy Kimmel doing a skit. Someone's getting slapped comically.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Do they clutch their pearls and act like it didn't happen, or do they play into it? I don't know.
I think you got to play into it.
I mean, that's what I would do. I'm just wondering what the Academy would do.
I think that they slap everybody before they hand them the award. Every category.
Honestly,
bam!
Even though it would get a little bit tedious and exhausting, I think it would be kind of funny that every time someone...
They could Family Guy joke it.
I think every time someone came up to present an award, someone who wasn't nominated...
Somebody in the audience...
Someone who wasn't nominated just keeps getting up and, like, walking up to slap them.
Yeah. No, somebody who was nominated and also says, keep my name out of your mouth.
Actually, that would be pretty funny. The winner is...
Sorry, a significant other of somebody who was nominated comes up and slaps the person.
The winner is... and someone gets slapped. Keep my wife's name.
Stupid.
But it should be fun. I'm excited to come down Sunday. I'm sure we'll do some shenanigans. It'll be a good time.
Indeed.
That's all for Flix and a Whisk. I have had a bit too much whisk to do that terrible accent again. So I hope you all enjoyed and check us out weekly and check out the website. Brian did his 100th review on thespintune.com, which we were supposed to mention a month ago and we forgot to.
Probably at 110 or something at this point.
Yeah, I hope everyone stays tuned for the last word on the Mando Watch, and we're going to do that in 5, 4, 3. Two, one.
Amanda Watch.
What do you
start?
What do you want to? Do you want to start with Last of Us? Or do you want to start with Mando Watch?
Let's start with Mando Watch because I feel like it's less to talk about.
Okay. So you said you only watched episode 1.
Just the first episode, yeah.
Okay.
Good, entertaining, ready to get back into it. I will say I was kind of a little bummed that I just had the one on release day instead of like two. I feel like it's a lot of like stage setting.
Yeah, it's they left themselves in an awkward position with doing that weird Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah,
the Boba Fett thing, because during like the previously on, they did some of the stuff from that, but not all of it. So like they handheld like him being exiled, but they didn't handhold the fact that Grogu disappeared and then
right, and he's back.
And also they have a new ship.
They said he came back to me.
Sure. But then like they kept reiterating some of the stuff. Like the one thing they showed in the thing where like the armorer is like, you're no longer Mandalorian until you do your penance. And then they spend like a bunch of time of like him re-explaining back to the armorer that I'm going to go do my penance.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was like they're half pregnant on that, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But to be fair, like right before that, the sequence with a bunch of the Mandalorians fighting that giant armored
included, but not limited to Tubulous Chonk.
Tubulous Chonk, yes. He got some good moments there.
That was cool. I mean, that was a bananas scene.
Yeah,
it was fun.
That was pure. You emptied your toy box and you're having a big fight with your toys.
I also have a very strong feeling towards the Nubian starfighter. So like, seeing that like fly in really quick was just really exciting to me.
Yeah, well, especially when you watch them just getting like basically their entire asses kicked.
Yeah,
and then he just came in and was like boop and blew it up, and it's like
that was fun.
Like it's a starfighter. It's meant to like fuck shit up, even though it's this like tiny, delicate looking thing, and like it's super fast, but like no, like we blew up a fucking capital ship with one of them. To be fair, like shooting from the inside, but still, like it's got bombs and shit. Like it's
classic Star Wars.
This is for real.
Shoot it from the inside. Yeah. That was cool. That was really fun. Obviously, Carl Weathers really fun.
Oh, he anytime he's on screen, he's just having the time of his life, which means we get to have the time of our life.
I love the whole thing with like rebuilding the droid was great, and I knew that's where that was going to come into play with the Babu Fricks. I don't know what they were called, but I'm going to call them Babu Fricks.
The Anzellans, I think.
Sure. But yes, what's better than one?
Wait,
like not, 6 of them working together.
Not the Babu Fricks, the Babu's Frick.
The Babu's Frick. That's what this. That's when we these 2 week span where we do The Last of Us and Mandawatch. We're gonna call that post credits sequence the Babu's Frick.
That was funny. It bordered on like the Family Guy joke of we've done like where it was like a weird splicing of the Family Guy overdoing the joke with the hot fuzz when they go to see the guy in the countryside, and he brings the old guy with the dog and also Nick Frost so that they can do layers of interpretation, because like at the beginning like you only catch like half of what the Babu's Frick were saying.
Yep.
And then like Carl Weathers is doing it, and then like it becomes less and less necessary for him to translate after a certain amount of time. But also there's something about Carl Weathers crouched in the doorway while Mando's got like his knees in his chest.
Yeah.
Like that kind of cracks me up. Just the whole stupid situation. I mean, like they're both incredibly cute and incredibly ugly, the Anzellans.
Yep.
The weird thing where like half of what they say is English, and like they have this weird emphasis on certain words or syllables.
I mean, they're just little Sicilian aliens. It sounds like members of my family talking to each other.
Could we have Babu Frick say quantum masala? I think it was voiced by the same person who voiced Babu.
Cool.
I think that person was the actress who played Moaning Myrtle, I want to say.
Yes.
In the
that sounds right.
Potter movies, which is such a random pull.
Yeah.
And of course, to see an intelligent being smaller than Grogu, and for Grogu to be like, this is now my plaything. This is my
pet.
My pet, my toy. That he just wanted to hug them so bad.
That's what I cuddle it.
And I forgot what it was. There was something. Was it just no touch? Like there was something that Babu Frick screamed.
Yeah, there was something that was really funny. I don't remember what it was.
That I was like, I thought was funny. Like that was like very blunt.
There's also something very Jon Favreau about that entire sequence of like between the puppets and the Force perspective and Mando sitting inside of the the lab where they're doing their work, but like he's sitting on the floor and his knees are up into his chest.
Yeah, it's a recreation of Will Ferrell in those opening scenes in Elf.
I love it.
Right? Because Favreau directed that too.
Mm-hmm. So good. But yeah, it's Carl Weathers interpreting, but continuing to after they've started speaking more clearly.
Yes.
So great. So great. And then, of course, we get the space pirates. I'm all about space pirates.
Yeah.
That's fun. You can kill them. That's cool. A little dogfight action.
Yeah, it was a thrilling sequence, right?
Yeah, it's badass.
Well shot.
Also, like when Grogu gets nervous, he slips back under and comes into the front seat.
They're going to have to explain the physics of that very small starfighter at some point.
The gravity that it has?
Not even the gravity, because like Star Wars ships have always like had artificial gravity, so like I'm fine with that part of it, honestly, even on a ship that small. It's just like I thought that pod was like a totally separate unit, and like you could like pop in and out of it.
It's kind of cute.
And then we get the kind of wrap up where he talks to Bo-Katan. She is miserable. He doesn't get what he needs out of her. Whatever. Mm-hmm. I won't tell you where that all leads to in the second episode, but it directly leads into... Second episode was really good. I thought the first episode was fine. I thought it had a lot of heavy lifting to do to bring everyone back in after being off for a while.
Yeah.
And I thought it did a fine job. But the second episode I thought was pretty strong. And on the back of that, I thought it was going to portend being a slow start to the season. And, you know, the story picks up pretty substantially in the next episode. So,
Cool. I'm excited to watch it. But all in all, I'm all for more Mando.
Yeah.
Love it. I'm all for... I mean, clearly we should be renaming this sequence where we have a little bit of overlap, something to do with Pedro, but I don't know what to call it.
I just formed together the two different post-credits show titles that we have, but we could...
Pedro's Pascal.
The assorted Pedros Pascal.
Assorted Pedros. Oh, man. Sweet. So, on to the penultimate episode of The Last of Us.
Well, we had 2 episodes.
Oh, we didn't do the week prior.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Okay. The week prior is one of the slower episodes, but not bad.
Yeah.
Just slower.
I described it as Bill and Frank Light because in a lot of ways that's what it was.
Yeah.
Because it's a standalone-ish episode about 2 characters who find their way towards loving each other and all that. It's just as tragic, actually significantly more tragic, because at least Bill and Frank got like 20 years together. Yeah. They got like 20 minutes together. Also, to be fair, this is has much more import towards the actual story. I mean, like it's a flashback, and we didn't advance the current day plot very much, but we filled in some major details about what went on right before the start of the show, which is super important, and so that's cool. But the 2 actresses were really good.
Agreed.
The story was really well written. It's pretty devastating how it all goes down. Like, it's going to happen in some way, shape, or form, but like it's tough.
Their performances in the moment where they're both bit, like where they both realize that they're bit, is incredible. And then like having Ellie smashing things, and I can't remember what the other girl's name was.
Riley?
Riley just like sitting there kind of accepting it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's a moment for sure.
Yeah.
That whole sequence is the DLC.
Yeah. I had heard that. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, it was a great episode. Also, I like the way that they kind of bookend it with Ellie going up the stairs, like she's like doesn't really quite know how to handle this. Like he's telling her to leave. Should she leave? What should she do? And then ultimately, like she's like, I'm like, you stay alive, you son of a bitch, yep. Which is pretty great. So that was the previous week's episode. Now, the second to last episode, which is, it's funny because like they have been doing this cadence. It feels like of like a lot, slow it down a little bit, a lot, slow it down, like, which is cool. I'm all for it. Like it's nice. However, this episode was bonkers, and next week's episode is going to be bananas. So it's a lot to end on.
I mean, before we get into this, and without too much spoilers,
yeah,
it sounds like, based on the pace of this, the end of next week's episode will not reach the end of the game, the first game.
I think it can.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see what they do. I don't know what their plan is, but I think it can.
All right. I never played it, but just from reading through Brian's review of it, my recollection is I didn't think they could get to the end of it.
Mm.
I didn't think they could effectively get to the end of the game at the end of this episode.
There's going to be probably a jump between the two episodes. Time jump, would be my guess.
You think so?
Yeah.
I mean, I figured there'd be something.
A time jump to cover the distance that they have to travel, and to maybe they'll do some, I don't know how they're going to do it. Maybe they'll do some like in the car, like, well, not in the car. I don't know how they get there. I don't honestly know what they're
I just think there's so many conversations that need to happen in that time. And like, if you see the preview for the next episode, like, there's going to be a lot of action in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how they do that all in one episode.
It's going to be a lot of conversation, a intense amount of action, and then some conversation. I feel like that's how they're gonna do it. All
right, so
that's my guess.
I mean, you would know better than me. To me, my impression was I thought they still had like too much to do.
I want to see. I am so curious. I want to see somebody's reaction who doesn't know what goes on in the final, in the finale, if they do make it there. I definitely have told Kim in the past, but I don't think she remembers. So
yeah, I mean, I have like the broad strokes.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting a lot of the details. I know when I see it, like, they'll come back to me. Like, I know the gist of what goes on. But for this week's episode, I thought this was really, really strong.
So strong.
I mean,
also really cool to bring Troy Baker in.
Yeah.
Like, super awesome. Although it is weird. Brian had mentioned it to me the other day when the actor opens his mouth that plays like the mercenary, but it's Tommy's voice.
Yeah.
Because you'll remember like when Joel starts talking, I'm like, that's weird. Or I mean, sorry, when Troy Baker starts talking, I was like, this is so bizarre. But
it is cool that really they got both of them incorporated, though.
Yeah.
As well as the woman who played Marlene, that was her too.
That's actually her. Yeah, she's in, and then Ashley Johnson's going to be in the next episode.
Okay.
Which is sweet. So, but I mean, what a twisted story, though, right? Like these two guys, and like the whole like, I believe everything happens for a reason, and like the whole link of that relaying of the story, basically buying time until David gets back, but to then be like, and he was killed. And funny thing is, this crazy guy was traveling with a little girl. Like that whole like moment is like, oh, I feel so unsafe.
Well, like, what's great about it is, like, you have the scene with him early on, and you're not 100% sure what this group is. Now, to me, I'm like, this has got to be that group, but you don't know that. You assume that.
Yeah.
And then you have this whole sequence happen where, like, they're talking about, they have the standoff between Ellie and them, and then the one guy goes off, and they have their conversation. It's like, oh, okay. This guy's probably not done everything right all the way along, but that can be forgiven to an extent, because no one can really truly do what's all right in these circumstances. Like, you do the best you can, but sometimes you're going to be forced to do things that you don't want to.
Mm.
And he's going through the whole thing, and it's like there could be a chance. Now, whether she should trust him or not, that's a different conversation. But, like, there could be a chance he's not the worst person in the world. And then he drops that he knows who she is, and it's like, oh, you're incredibly manipulative.
Mm-hmm.
So even if there's like a lot of truth to everything you're saying, you can't trust anything you're saying.
Right.
And then when you realize, oh, you can't trust anything that he's saying, that's cute. Cannibals.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, that's cute, cannibals, and then also, oh, and he's rapey. Like it's very uncomfortable in a lot of situations.
Yeah. But it's just like, oh, like we can't trust him. Like, yeah, he was manipulative. He wants more than he lets on. Nope, not just that. Cannibals.
Cannibals.
Although, to be fair, it's mostly him and maybe one or two top lieutenants. Like, the rest of the people don't realize they're cannibals.
We'll bury him in the spring. No, you're eating him.
Yeah. Well, that's
He's for dinner.
That's what I said. Is like, because I was watching it with Vicky that night when it came out, and I was like, they're eating them. And she's like, what? He said, oh, we're going to bury him in spring. And then, like, because, like, they got on later, it was like, oh, there's no food, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, when they're making the sad dinner, and he's like, what is
this?
Yeah, what is this? Venison.
Yeah.
With, like, a hard stare. And I'm like, that's what I said. I was like, oh, that's whoever. And she's like, what? I said, the guy that Joel killed, that's him.
Yeah, that's Barry's thigh.
Yes. Yeah. she's like, what? I said, we're not burying him until spring. They have no food. They've run out of venison. They made the soup before the deer carcass shows up. And that super awkward exchange. Dude.
They've run out of venison. This is venison.
Yes. It was like, she's like, oh.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. And then we see an ear. And then,
yeah, if you're going to try to keep this on lock, though, you clean up the ear, right?
I mean, it's not like it was, like, hidden, like, deep, like, under, like, a cabinet. Like, it was just, like,
there.
On the floor in the stall where they cut up the bodies. Like, you couldn't have missed it there.
Yeah.
But also, what I did find interesting was, because, like, I think you could have even had an interesting conversation there where it was like, well, we were forced into true desperation there.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't a one-time thing because Joel finds, like, 3 other bodies hanging.
Yeah. I feel like they just, like...
don't have any explanation as to who those people are.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to assume what it was is the hunting party was finding stragglers and killing, and that's who it was. This is just the first time they ate one of their own. Like, they must have eaten, like, Rat Race, we'll just kill a drifter and take his heart. Like, we'll just kill a drifter and eat him. Yeah. But, like, this is the first time that they killed one of their own. And it was like, well, we're not going to let this go to waste.
Yeah. But nobody has the shakes.
Well, I mean, like, those bodies weren't fully stripped. So, like, they probably really only just had started.
Maybe it's a Taco Bell situation. Maybe they were eating, like, 80% venison.
They might have been mixing it up, but I'm just wondering if it was like, well, we've only been eating person for the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. 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 Oh, that's so creepy.
Also, to be fair, again, I did have a bit of a problem with the end sequence when there's, like, all sorts of, like, buffoonery going on, and then, like, they burn down a building, and then, like, Joel shows up and rescues her at the end.
Well, she rescues herself.
Sorry, Joel collects her at the end, I guess is the way. Like, she did the self-rescuing, but, like, he's the one who makes sure she gets out safely.
Mm-hmm. Because
she was about to wander off into the snow and probably get recaptured ultimately.
Mm.
But where are the town people?
So it's kind of a blizzard.
Maybe
and
I'm
thinking that everybody's kind of
hunkered
down. Yeah, it's not. It seems that way at first, and then it's not as pronounced. And that's my impression. I don't know.
Unless
I feel like that could have been done a little bit better.
Did the whole town just get the shakes right then?
That was it. That was at that moment.
But yeah, like other than that, like all of it was really thrilling and it was great. But I was like a little like, does no one realize like the fucking building in the center of town is burning down?
Yeah.
Because like I feel like that's something someone would have noticed.
That was such an incredible moment though when Joel calls her baby girl.
Oh yeah. This is the first time that he's finally like not just accepted the fact that he's like caring for her, but like is embracing the fact that like he's basically found a new daughter to give him a chance to atone for what he feels like was a failure in the first time around.
Right. Oh man, what an incredible episode! I can't wait. I am curious. I was curious how long the next episode's going to be.
Well, they already did a super long one for the first one.
Yep.
And there was one other one that was a little on longer side, wasn't there?
Wasn't the Bill and Frank episode?
It might have been. I don't
a feature
remember.
film.
Well, the first one was.
Yeah.
I didn't think that Bill and Frank was that long of an episode, but
It might not have been.
I don't remember for a fact. But yeah, I mean, like I would expect this one to be longer, especially with like an odd number, right? Because it's only the 9th episode. Which technically, the first 2 was almost like 2 episodes.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's been a hell of a season. I had a little bit of concern after the 4th episode. Like things really came to kind of a screeching halt after Bill and Frank, and it's really picked up and not given back at all since that point. So we had 2 really strong LE episodes in a row. We've had generally like 4 really strong episodes in a row. Should be building up to an exciting conclusion. They didn't move this episode up though, right? Like it's going up against the Oscars.
Oh,
that kind of sucks.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess we'll watch that after.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool though that you'll be here.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't see anything about it being moved up.
Because I definitely by now, the week of the Super Bowl, they had announced it that they were doing it Friday.
Well, you know what we could probably do is we could pause the Oscars, watch it, then go back and fast forward through the commercials of the Oscars.
I mean, if that works.
But cool, man. Well, thank you for hosting.
You're welcome.
And we'll see you all next week on our Oscars recap.